Hey, Glenn, we're live, so go ahead
Okay,
and do
thank
your
you.
shares.
All right, cool. All right, I see it.
Okay. Nope. Episode. What is this? What is this? Today is the 24th, so this is September 17th. Boom. Now we go to the 24th. Start anew. All right, what are we down to? A minute?
Yeah, just about. Okay, can you tell me where the shout out's coming? Is it going to be between the content warning or
Don't worry.
after?
I got it. Got it all figured out.
Yeah, I'm just wanting a heads up where it's going to show.
It's gonna show just like you asked me right after
So
the
between the content warning and the.
and the open.
Okay. Yep, just so I kind of know. Perfect.
Okay.
All right, y'all. This is going to be a good show. Jazzy, you're going to have to really give me a break here and stick to your treats, okay? Thank you. I got a little something in there for you, Dean. I don't know if you
Okay.
picked up on it while you were loading everything, but
I don't think I did, but other
all
than maybe
right,
the
have
Dire
fun. Here we
Straits
go.
music.
In
All right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi there. I'm here with Glenn Victor, and I want you to listen to the Dare Me podcast. You
It's
must.
Al Stewart. You rock, brother.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm Al Stewart.
Yeah, you
Just in
rock.
case you
Thanks,
didn't know.
brother. On average, just in the United States, about 220 people die every single day from an opiate overdose. By the time we finish the show, 8 to 10 people are going to die from an opiate overdose. If we get even one person, one viewer with this program that we might be able to help with some of the information that's shared on here, then it's all worth it. Hey everyone, it's Glenn Victor. Peace. Welcome to the Dare Me podcast, another episode. I'm so excited for today's show because we've got a very, very, very special guest that'll be coming up in just a little while. It's my own son, G, Glenn Jr. We call him G, and he is a fitness enthusiast, and we will be talking all about fitness, exercise, healthy eating, and all the things. If you're a regular viewer or listener to our podcast, you do know that Glenn has been on the show before. But today it's going to be me and him one on one. When we've had him on before, we've had other guests, and today we're just going to really focus in on those topics. But we got a lot of other fun stuff coming up too. We're going to touch on the opioid crisis in the news. We got some great music stuff we're going to be talking about. We got some humorous stuff, some funny memes, all the things that we ordinarily do on the show. So that's all coming up. I see we've got several viewers and listeners already. You're welcome to join in the chat room. We'll be flashing the telephone number on the screen shortly and invite anyone who may be joining us live to call in and ask any questions you might have regarding fitness or anything you might like to talk to us about. We'd love to hear from you. So that's all coming up on today's show. Before we jump too much further into it, let's bring in that boy from Orlando, Florida, our co host and producer, my best friend, Dean Baker. What's happening, Dean?
Hey, Glenn, how are you tonight?
Good, good. How's things going in Orlando over on the East Coast? Everything good out there today? I got to ask, I saw you did a live stream yesterday on your motorcycle and rode all the way over to Cocoa Beach, man.
I
How'd that go?
I had a wild hair up my ass about
Yes.
just said, you know what? I had nothing to do, nothing to, just to keep me occupied. And
Yeah.
I said, of course the stream, if you watched any part of it, it was horrible. It
Oh,
was I couldn't use my GoPro.
okay.
Because I wanted to use StreamYard to do the stream, but I couldn't use my GoPro. So
Okay.
I figured, well, my phone has got a decent, what is it, stabilizer.
Right, right.
And it looked like hell. That was like wobbling around like crazy. And I'm like going, now I was wearing my GoPro on my chest, so I'm gonna
Right.
replace all that with the good footage. But yeah, it was a 3 hour stream. It took me 3 hours to go from my house all the way out to Cocoa Beach, and I finished on the beach, toes in the water.
I saw that. Now, I must confess, I did not watch the whole
Uh,
stream and I didn't see it
you broke my
live.
heart.
I saw it after the fact, but I saw your whole adventure. I kind of forwarded through, and I'm sure you know this by now, but the first part of it, it was the shot was upside down, and at
What?
some point it was upright, and then I picked it up there and
Yeah, my
followed you
buddy
over to the
George,
coast.
he noticed it too, and I'm like, I'm looking at it, going, well, what's going on here? It's not the,
I didn't
because
know
every
what
time
happened.
every time, because I take the phone and flip it back at me, and I know
Yeah.
that's upside down, but I don't know, whatever. But
Well, but then
I just got to use the GoPro from now on, and
Yeah,
just deal with
but it
that.
was
So,
so cool. And then I, of course, saw you when you got to the beach and walked right down to it was kind of crowded on Coco, and you took us
yeah.
right to the Atlantic Ocean.
Because you really can't see the ocean from A1A.
Yeah, that's true.
There isn't. There's,
Yeah. It's not like out in the
anywhere.
West Coast, you got the Pacific Coast
You,
Highway. Yeah, yeah.
right. The only shot of the ocean you get is from the causeway going over the bridge. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was fun. It was a fun
It was
ride.
fun. So, Dean, I got to ask because I don't remember. We follow each other on social media, but for
Mhm.
any of our viewers or listeners who may want to go take a peek at that, where was that? Was that on your personal page or was it the Post Effects Digital? Where can they go check it out if they want to?
I'll put that link up there in a moment, but
Okay.
I
Yeah, in the
created a
chat
new
room.
YouTube page. I created
Yeah.
a new YouTube page for my rides. I'm going to start
Right.
webcasting all my rides,
Right.
as
Well,
many of the rides
Dean,
as possible. So
if you don't mind me saying so, you are a fairly new motorcycle enthusiast. Not brand
yeah,
new.
I'm new.
You've been riding for years, but this new bike you just got within the past year, right?
Within the last 4 months,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. It's
yes,
not
about
been
four
that long.
months, right around Bike Week, actually.
Yeah,
In
that's
fact, the
right. I
very end of
remember.
Bike Week is when I got it. So that's what, February. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
been now we're in September. So yeah,
Well,
yeah, 7 months I've had it for. I've got a little over 2,000 miles, 2,400 miles on it so far,
that's
which
awesome, bro. Well,
and
as you recall, Dean, for those who may be new to our show, Dean and I go back a long way. And Dean, you may recall I used to manage the MSF Motorcycle Safety Foundation program at the company I worked for. I worked
and
for that company
yes,
for 25 years, and we used to do the motorcycle rider training program, and I've managed that program for over 3 years. So I don't currently own a bike. I'll tell you what, man. Like you said, I get a hair up my ass at least once or twice a year when Bike Week and Biketoberfest rolls around. You know what I mean? But man, I've had some of the best times of my life riding that 7 mile bridge through the Keys, the road to Hana and Maui. I mean, I just, I love riding. I just don't happen to have a bike right now. This is the one you have right now,
This
Dean?
is my YouTube channel here.
Oh, right
It's
on.
called Honda Trail Traveler or Honda at Honda Trail 125.
Right,
It's a
right.
small CC bike. I love this bike, and
Yeah.
that this video was when I went to Leesburg Bike Fest. I just did a
Oh,
little
right,
highlight
right.
reel, and
Yeah.
that was pre GoPro. And then, of course, I've
Yeah.
got
Oh,
this
videos in the live channel.
live webcast, and I don't know why some of this other stuff. I
All
think
right.
probably
Well,
when I changed the name. But anyways, it was a
you'll
3 hour
put the link in the
webcast.
chat room, you say too, though, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool. Well, hey everyone, that's our pal Dean, our co-host and producer, and motorcycle enthusiast as well. And hey, Dean, since you brought up your YouTube channel, I just got to put it out there. I am kind of proud of myself. I'm gonna pat myself on the back because I've been talking about this on the show for several weeks now. The Dare Me podcast YouTube channel is completely caught up now.
For the day.
When we for now, yeah.
What
I
about
am not
tomorrow?
letting it fall that far behind again because that was a lot of work, man. When we go live, if you go to the Dare Me Podcast YouTube channel, all the episodes are there under the live tab, but they all have the countdown. There's no thumbnail or anything. And I like keeping that. I oversee that channel and I like keeping it real clean, uncluttered. And if you go there, on the homepage, it'll only put up so many of your most recent episodes, but under the video channel, they are now all there in chronological order, nice and clean, uncluttered. They all have the same consistent thumbnail. And today is episode 28. And we're going to talk about that channel a little bit later in the show because, man, oh man, have we increased the subscribers. Now, we don't have a lot by some folks' standards, but certainly we've gone up a lot by my humble little standards. So more about that later. Right now, y'all, I want to jump into the program and let's talk a little bit about what this show is all about. I'm gonna give you the short version today because we got a lot of stuff we're gonna pack into the show today, and we have that boy G in the green room, as we say. He's standing by, and we are gonna do that deep dive interview with Glenn today. And also, I've been putting some reels out there promoting today's show, and I just need to let y'all know I put a couple out there in case you didn't see them, saying that I was going to be on today in my underwear, and we do have those photos. They're coming up, so I see we got a boatload of viewers here today. If you tuned in to see Glenn in his underwear, that's coming up later. But right now, y'all, just want to talk about what this show is all about. As you can see, the name of the program is Dare Me, and we've got all those hashtags at the top of the screen: drugs, addiction, recovery, enlightenment, music, exercise. Those are all the topics we try to focus on. If you're a regular viewer and listener of the show, you know what it's all about, but we get new viewers and listeners every single week. And we are live right now on several Facebook, several YouTube channels, live on X, live on LinkedIn, live on Threads, all the things. And so we get new viewers every week. If you're new to the program or maybe just stumbled on it, saw we were live, clicked on it, and you're watching or listening right now, or even if you come across a recorded version, I want to tell you just a little bit about the show. So, as the hashtags and the name implies, we do talk about drugs and addiction and things to that nature and all the other topics there. I personally became hooked on opiate pain medication, opioids, opiates, whatever the hell you want to call it. I broke my ankle and I was prescribed that stuff by the surgeon and the doctors. And I went on a 9 year run taking them goddamn pain pills. I became physically dependent and I got hooked. Getting off of them things because I've been clean now for over 2.5 years. I'm completely clean and sober. But getting off of them things was one of the worst thing I've ever been through in my life. It was horrible. I have a long history with struggles with substance abuse disorder. That's kind of the buzz phrase now. Trying to break that stigma is what's going on right now in the recovery community of addiction and drug addiction and all that. And so, yeah, that's kind of the buzz phrase now. And it's accurate. People do develop a substance abuse disorder, and certainly I did. And I've had a long history with that since I was a young man. You know, when I was a teenager, I started getting loaded and partying like most kids in my circle. And that went on for a long time, y'all. And I got clean right around 25 years old, stayed clean for, God, almost 17 years. I lived clean and sober. And then I had a horrible relapse. It lasted about 5 years, got clean for six again. Then I broke my ankle and started taking them damn pills all those years because they make you feel great until they don't. They work great until they don't. They literally turn on you, and then you have to take them just to feel normal, or else you get sick, dope sick. And that's what happened to me. And there's lots of war stories there, y'all, a lot of which I've told on this show, more to come too. But nonetheless, that's the very short version of my story. If you'd like to hear the full story, like I said, this is episode 28. You can go back and watch all the other content, and you can look at the titles of them. You'll figure it out which ones I go into the deep dive of my story with. And more to come as we go, y'all. But anyhow, when I got clean, I decided, you know what? I want to try to help some people get out of that mess. And I'm going to do a fucking podcast. And that's why we started this podcast. Like I say, we're into episode 28. We started it last March, and we've had so much positive feedback that we're marching forward with it. And part of my uh, healing process, if you will, recovery, as they say, is the things we talk about. Enlightenment, music has had such a huge impact on my healing process, and exercise. And we focus on different topics at different times on this show. And this week it is all about exercise and fitness. And that's why we have that boy G coming up in just a little bit. Hang on, y'all. He's standing by in the green room, as we say, and he will be coming up. But before we get into that, I really need to kind of sort of go into something, y'all. It's going to take me about 5 minutes. So please indulge me as I talk about this with y'all. Okay, Dean, let's bring some of those slides up because I wanted to talk about this first as well. We had that shout out at the beginning of the show from that boy Al Stewart. Now, if you are a regular viewer and listener to the show, you know last week I was really trying to get out of here a little early because I wanted to go downtown here in Sacramento, where I'm coming to you live from, to see a concert by this guy, Al Stewart. And if that old dude on the front end didn't look familiar to you and you were wondering who that was giving us a shout out on the podcast, this is him as a younger man going back to like 1978. He became very, very famous for this song called The Year of the Cat. And he also had a lot of other famous songs. He had On the Border, Song on the Radio, Time Passages. And so I just thought that I would explain who that shout out was from and show you some pictures of him as a younger man. He's 78 years old now. And I got to meet him because I did make it to the concert last week. And we're going to actually show just a little bit of footage from that concert later on the back end of the show once we finish our interview with G. But I thought I'd give you a little background on why we showed that shout out at the beginning, because the dude's a legend. For people that know, some of our younger viewers or listeners, you may not know who Al Stewart is, but he truly is a international music legend. And it was such a thrill for me to be able to not just see him perform, but especially to meet him. He was so nice to me. We chatted for about 10 minutes. And then I told him about the podcast, and he thought that was the coolest thing. And so I asked him to do a shout out, and he agreed to. We're going to show it again later in the show, y'all. So there's a picture of me and the legend Al Stewart. How cool is that? That was just so cool to meet him. And I just thought that we'd go ahead and show that clip one more time of him giving us a shout out. Let's check it out.
Hi there. I'm here with Glenn Victor. I want you to listen to the Dare Me podcast. You
It's
must.
Al Stewart. You rock, brother.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm Al Stewart.
Yeah, you
Just in
rock.
case you
Thanks,
didn't
bro.
know.
All right, so there you go. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and play this clip of Year of the Cat right now. It's just a short clip. So people who maybe aren't familiar with them will probably at least know this little part of the song. Oh, yeah. Okay, y'all. So I only showed that short clip, and I would have showed you more from the beginning, but I was singing through the whole thing, and I listened to the video, and it was pretty cringy. So I had to find a part where I wasn't singing so much. But anyway, that is like definitely his most famous song, and what a thrill it was to meet Al Stewart, y'all. So anyway, moving along. I want to talk a little bit about this guy, Howard Stern. We're going to talk for a minute about Howard Stern and Dennis Rodman. And the reason I wanted to bring them up, y'all, and Dean, can we go full screen on me for a second here? Because I want to really look into the eyes of our viewers right now and let y'all know a little something, something. I'm going to let some of y'all in on a little secret about this show and the marketing that I do for this show. Last week, we talked a lot about temptation for people that live clean and sober. It's a daily struggle, y'all. It's a daily struggle when you're living clean and sober. And if you are a real one, you are really, truly an addict, an alcoholic, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's a daily reprieve. You go through thoughts about it and romancing it on the daily. Some days a little more than others, you'll romance it, but for the most part, you do think about it every day. It's always there. It's always a thought. And so, anyway, part of the reason I bring that up, y'all, is last week I really raised some eyebrows, apparently, because I was contacted by a lot of people this past week just checking in on me, and it made me so grateful that people were checking in on me out of concern. I got calls and text messages and DMs like, "You good, bro? Everything okay? How you doing?" All that stuff, and I just wanted to put it out there that I do things intentionally to get attention for this show, y'all. It's all by design. And bring that picture back up, Dean, of Howard Stern. This is why I wanted to talk about Stern and Rodman, because these guys are the old school that I come from in marketing. Howard Stern, if you don't know who he is, I can't imagine anybody that don't know who Howard Stern is, even our younger viewers and listeners, is the proverbial shock jock. And so I come from the Howard Stern School of Marketing. And when he was a fairly unknown, he worked at a radio station in Detroit when I was a kid, W4. And he did some things back in them days, like what he called Fart Man. He dressed up as Fart Man and had this character where he became this guy Fart Man, and it got him all kinds of attention, y'all. And he was a broke fuck back in them days. Okay, there is also a website. Let me find the website. Oh, well, we didn't get the website photo. I thought we had it, but anyhow, oh, there it is on the left. That's actually from his website. I didn't know we combined these pictures. So nonetheless, y'all, Here's a little something about when Howard Stern went to Detroit for a morning host show at W4, a struggling rock station in Detroit, Michigan. That's when I first learned about Howard Stern. And I actually met the guy at a club in Detroit on Telegraph and 6 Mile that at the time was called the 24 Karat Lounge. He did a remote there, and we went up and met him. And then here's a little something that I pulled too that he talks about. He made what he called this momentous decision, in his own words, to cut down the barriers and be totally honest with his audience. And that parlayed into him moving on from Detroit to all different places and eventually New York. And then, if you know his story, a few years ago to Sirius, where he signed a $600 million contract, y'all. Okay. Which amounts to $120 million a year. Now, I don't want to compare apples to oranges or anything like that with what I'm doing in my shock jock type marketing, but I'm just giving y'all a little heads up. That's the school I come from. Howard Stern doing insane, bizarre stuff to get people's attention. Now, let's talk about this man. Dennis Rodman. There he is on the left with Kareem. There he is with Larry Bird on the right during his days with the Detroit Pistons. Okay. There he is with Magic Johnson in the background. There he is with the legend Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Okay. The best defensive player to ever play the game of basketball, one of the most athletic men of his time, right? And guess what Dennis Rodman did? He dressed up in a wedding gown and married himself. The iconic moment that Dennis Rodman claimed to marry himself, y'all. And this again is the school of marketing I come from, y'all. And in the year that Dennis Rodman did that, 1995 to 96, look at his salary here, 2.5 mil. And then after he did that, he jumped to 9 million on his contract, y'all. And here's just a little more. What was the most money he made in that 96, 97 season? He earned $9 million after wearing a wedding dress on media and out in the media and claiming he was marrying himself. And then of course he earned all these endorsement deals with Nike, Coke, Pepsi, and clothing lines as well. And then, if you know Dennis Rodman's story, he's gone on to meet, and not to get into politics, y'all. I know, there's lots of politics with him going over to North Korea and all, but this is him with Kim Jong Un from North Korea. And if you haven't figured out where I'm going with this yet, yes, yours truly met Dennis Rodman too, and I got to spend a good 10 minutes with him. I met him at the Atlantis Hotel in the Bahamas, and I pulled up, and there he was. And you guys know me, I couldn't resist. I went right up to the man and said, Dennis, what's happening? And he was waiting for his limo. And I told him I was from Detroit, and that was it, man. We hit it off immediately. We talked about Chuck Daly, who had passed away not long before that. And once I brought up Chuck Daly, man, that's it. We just sat down, started talking, and talked about his playing days. He was retired by the time I met him here. And then, it was just like two guys bullshitting, I wasn't really, I mean, I was kind of starstruck, but not really. And then I go, God, Dennis, I go, bro, I'll never forget the time you dressed up in that wedding dress and said you married yourself. And he started laughing and he goes, bro, it's all promo and marketing, all promo and marketing. And it hit me at that moment, man. He's a very smart guy. They might call him crazy, but crazy like a fox. He knew exactly what he was doing. And I showed you the salary numbers on purpose because once he did that, his value shot up and he made all kinds of endorsement deals and the whole 9 yards. So the point I'm making, y'all, with all that said, is the shock value of doing bizarre things. I'm trying to remember all the stuff I've done. I've danced with my dog Jazzy online. I've flipped people off in reels. I try to pick songs that have, F bombs that I'll use in reels to kind of, whoa, shock people, get their attention. I've done videos like in bed promoting this podcast, literally where I just woke up. What else have I done? I've done some pretty crazy stuff. I promise y'all I'll never do fart man or wear a wedding dress or anything like that. But I do things intentionally. Like this past week, I put some stuff out there feeling kind of sad. Please call into the podcast today and cheer me up. And sure enough, I had people messaging me, why so sad, Glenn? What's wrong? I'm good, y'all. I'm good. I ain't getting loaded today. I ain't getting high. I'm not sad. I have days like anybody else. You know what I mean? I just go through things sometimes, but I just want to make sure, y'all, please don't read too much into the stuff I post on social media to promote this podcast, okay? It's for the most part all marketing and shock value, trying to get people's attention. And it seems to have worked quite well to a certain extent. I'm going to move on from this topic in a moment, y'all, but I felt like I needed to put this out there on the front end because I did have so many people contact me, which made me feel awesome that, people were genuinely a little concerned after last week's show, and talking about temptation, living clean and sober, which is a real thing. But I'm good, y'all. I'm good. A lot of this stuff is done by design. And here's another shock value for you. I couldn't resist putting this up. There's that girl Madonna, another Detroit connection because she is from Detroit, and her and Brittany getting it on, doing the kiss on live TV. This was, I believe, at the MTV Awards. And again, y'all, this was all shock value stuff. So anyways, just wanted to put that out there, y'all. Please don't read too much into the stuff that we do on social media to promote this podcast. I've shared on here that I've attended several seminars, marketing workshops on social media. You can't just always cram your product or service down people's throat, or they're going to eventually just put up their defenses, block you, whatever. You got to be vulnerable. That's the buzz phrase right now. Be vulnerable. Let people into your personal life. Let them see another side of you. Um, Things to that nature, and then slip in your product and service wherever you can. So I try not to bombard people too much with stuff. I've found that anything with my dog seems to get the most views and likes. People love dog stuff. Gym stuff, I know people get irritated about checking in at the gym all the time or whatever, but believe it or not, that stuff gets a lot of attention too. But anyhow, let me move on from that topic, y'all. And one of the people that seemed legitimately a little concerned about where I was at is who we're going to bring on now. My son and our featured guest today. And he's standing by in the green room, but about to go live with us. And we're going to talk about fitness, just like I promised, and talking about shock value. I promoted, we're going to show a picture of me in my underwear. Yes, I posted that purposely, y'all, to hopefully get people's attention. Like, what the fuck? Glenn's going to be in his underwear. Yes, that was attention grabbing, a la Howard Stern, Dennis Rodman, Madonna, Brittany. You get the idea. So, anyway, there he is, my son, Glenn Jr. We call him G. Welcome to the podcast, coming to us live from Miami, Florida. How's things in Miami today, Glenn?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you
Perfect.
fine,
Okay.
bro.
Yeah, things are good in Miami. It's still a little
Well,
hot here, but
yeah.
getting through it. How are you?
Good, good. And I just, I know you were probably listening in to everything I just shared. And so I did want to say, Glenn, I really appreciated your concern checking in
Yeah.
with me after last week's show. Like, Dad, you good, man? Everything good? It's like I said, bro. And just for our viewers and listeners, Glenn has been a guest on the show a couple of times before. But we did have other people on at the time and all, and this is our first time just having a one-on-one with you and me, G, and of course Dean as well here, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation here about fitness and all. But you get the whole social media thing. You and I have had lots of conversations about it, but anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there so that people kind of understand. We're just trying to market the podcast, so
Oh, here
that's
you go.
why I put out there we're going to show me in my underwear, which we will show in a little bit, I promise y'all, because let's go ahead and bring up the next photo, Dean. And the reason I said I would show that photo of me in my underwear is because I came a long way from the picture that Dean's about to show. I'm not sure how to bring those up, or I'd do it myself, Dean, but there you go, y'all. That's me at 180 pounds. Oh my God. When I got clean, y'all, I developed what was called, or what is commonly referred to as recovery belly. Because when you're getting loaded for so long and it snowballs out of control, and then you get clean like I did, you start eating again. And you develop a sugar addiction too, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And man, oh man, did I balloon up. That's the probably the best picture I have of me on the left, showing the belly. And look at my face. Look at that picture compared to my face, even just like right now. So, G, that my journey getting slim and back in shape again was a long road, and you helped get me there. And I can't thank you enough for all you did to help get me there. So, thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Wow. I forgot how big you did get on your recovery, but I think looking back, when you were going through it, through the worst of it, you didn't really have much of an appetite. I remember you weren't eating a lot,
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
when you were recovering, you got your appetite back, and you decided to. Looks like you were hitting those all you can eat buffets, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Lots of sugar. I got hooked on the caramel macchiatos from Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and all that stuff. And man, you know as well as I do, the sugar and the carbs will really pack on the pounds real quick, y'all.
Well, that's
Well,
big for you, like, right? Because like I know, like you as a kid, like you were always skinny, right? Like as a little, like when you were younger.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I'd like to refer to it as slim and trim.
yeah.
Skinny almost
Well,
has
that
like
was
a
the biggest you
negative.
ever got, right?
What's that?
That was the biggest you ever got in these
That
pictures.
was the biggest
Yeah,
I ever got, and for me, that's big because I'm
yeah.
not a real tall guy, y'all. I'm like 5'7", so
Mhm.
180 pounds for me. And again, no disrespect to people that carry extra pounds, whatever. Do you? I'm just saying for me, I felt so out of shape, and I'd look in the mirror and I'm like, oh no, I cannot live like this, y'all. I got to get back in shape. And when it comes to, addiction and things to that nature, it's referred to as a sickness that is mental, spiritual, and physical. And certainly it was affecting my physical health. And I wanted to get back in shape. And so I, started going to the gym. And G,
Mhm.
you've been a gym enthusiast for years and helped coach me through that. And I just can't thank you enough. So we're going to show some pictures, some before and afters. But before we do, I wanted to show this video because I saw you posted this, Glenn. And for our viewers and listeners who are just getting familiar with you, I just wanted them to get the idea of the kind of guy my wonderful son G is. Check this out, y'all.
Always tell people I'm not a nice guy, I'm a good guy. There's a difference. If a little old lady is walking down the street and some guy grabs a pocketbook and you grab the guy and break his nose and break his arm, you're not a nice guy, but you're a good guy. I'm not in this to be nice. I'm in it to be good.
Yeah, exactly, G. I love that about
Yeah.
you.
No, no, I related to that when I saw that. I had to repost that on Instagram. I mean, because I go in this life, like I walk around this life like just with a heavy heart, like just wanting to be a good person. But a lot of times when you're with your circle of friends or whoever you're with, a lot of times people make comments like, "Oh yeah, he's a real nice guy," but there's the difference between the nice guy and the good guy. And I thought that video explained it well. So yeah. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? For those that don't know, I'm just going to put this out there. Glenn is a black belt, by the way, in Taekwondo. And when G was a younger man, and a kid still, I often say, Glenn, when I'll be talking with other people, that was the best thing I ever did for my son, y'all, was get him involved in Taekwondo. And you did that for how many years, kiddo?
Yeah, like I think close to 10 years, but I was,
Yeah, and you had
practicing.
your eyes on that black belt and you were not giving up. I say it all the time, sometimes it takes people a while to make their mind up about what they want to do. And you're kind of sort of one of them guys, you got to figure it out. But once you make your mind up, man, that's it. You go. And, that was one of them times. And, the reason I bring it up is because the discipline, not just that you learned to defend yourself and all that, but the discipline that they brought to the table in those taekwondo classes and the practice and the training. Because I would sit there, they had an area for people to sit and observe and watch. I just loved it, so anyway, I wanted to put that out there.
Yeah,
Well,
any kids going through like, any parents that are thinking of, wanting to look for like a sport or like an extracurricular activity for their child, like we tried everything, baseball, basketball, football, kind of dabbled in everything, but I gravitated towards combat sports, martial arts. And like you said, I agree with you. Like now that I'm grown and I look back, it teaches you, not just how to defend yourself, but the big thing is, you know, having integrity, discipline, being courteous to others, self control, perseverance was a big one. Those were
yeah,
all traits I got from Taekwondo. So I think
yep.
any parent should really consider, getting their child involved in some sort of martial arts, not just because it teaches you how to defend yourself, but for those other traits. I just
Yes. Well, gee, if you didn't notice, I just brought up another photo. I took my big fat ass off the screen and I put your fat ass. No, I'm just kidding you, kiddo. But this is a before and after pic that I happen to have of you. And by the way, y'all, I took liberties with these photos. It's not like Glenn gave me all these photos. Here, Dad, put this, put this. He has no idea what's coming up. These are just photos I've had in my, phone and collection over the years. And so, on the left, there you are. And let's just say it, Glenn, you're not in shape. I mean, you're not like, really overweight or whatever, but the picture on the right, obviously a couple of years later, but there's no comparison. So just to elaborate on this a little bit, we want, people who are listening or watching to maybe get some tips on fitness and all. We want to give you some credibility. So talk about your journey between these two photos. What happened there? There's a transformation.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most intense transformation I had, but the photo on the left was I was actually starting to work out and lift weights, and I was getting into like, I would say bodybuilding lifestyle, training and eating, and the mind. I was at this time in the beginning, I was learning, as much as I could, and on the left,
Mhm. Yep.
I gained that weight on purpose. Um, to that wasn't by accident. So I was, when I started out, I was a little like skinny, but had like a little belly, and I didn't really have much muscle definition. So I was trying something called bulking, which was essentially me putting my body into a calorie surplus,
Okay.
and then just trying to like get stronger in the gym by doing like resistance training. And I
Mhm.
just people were telling me, or the information I was getting from others that were more experienced was like, you just have to eat. You just got to eat as
I
much as you
remember you were
can.
trying to
And
bulk
I was
up.
like,
Yep.
all right, well, I'm just gonna eat,
I remember.
everything that I came across. Yeah. So and I put on like 30 pounds. However, just because I learned quickly, as you can see in this picture, just because you're eating, you're gaining weight and you are in the gym working out, doesn't mean that the weight you're gaining is muscle. So I actually got even bigger than that. I'd have to find a different picture, but yeah,
Well,
that was just a picture where I was like, oh, these are just progress pictures. And so from there on the left, I decided
I've got
I
some
didn't
more coming up, by the
yeah,
way.
I didn't want to look I didn't like the way I looked on the left, and then I decided to diet down. And I just thought at the time, I was like, well, let's see how far I can take it as I was learning. And on the right
You
was
took
as
it to
far as
the
I kind of the
limit, man.
leanest I had
Yeah.
got, which isn't sustainable, which I had mentioned when I was
That's
on your
a
mic.
hell of a pick, though, kiddo. Let's go to the
Yeah.
next one here. So this is another
Mhm.
transformation. I know you probably not liking me showing that
No,
one.
it's
You
fine.
munching on the
That one
chip,
on the
you know.
left was, again, like I was just eating like as much as I could because I was still lifting weights at the time. I was still trying to pack on muscle, but I just thought, hey, if I'm going to be in a calorie surplus or bulk, I'm going to do it the fun way, just eating anything. I think I'm eating a cannoli there, and then
I thought it was a
yeah,
nacho chip. I hear
maybe
you.
I don't know. On the left, on
Yeah.
the right, yeah, I was just taking. That's kind of a douchey picture when I was like 24, but yeah,
I
just
love that picture, man. You can be like a fucking movie star, GQ, with them shades
it's
on,
a little
bro.
embarrassing, but yeah,
No, I
I think
love it.
that was like 10 years ago. But yeah, those are good. I appreciate you putting those up because they're good, like pictures to remind me that like how far I kind of came, because it's not easy to, like, as you could attest to this, like how to
Yeah.
lose weight,
Well,
and
let's
it takes a lot of discipline.
show another one, because here's another transformation.
Yeah.
Man, this one on the right here, Glenn. Oh my God, bro. That photo there. I mean, those are like fucking rock solid abs, and you can tell your shoulders and shit have really built up. I just think, man, like I said, y'all, I mean, God, man, you could literally be a GQ model, Glenn. I mean, I'm not kidding you, bro. These are awesome pictures, man. I'm so proud of you.
The no regrets tat.
Yeah, the
No, I
no
appreciate you.
regrets.
No, I appreciate the compliments. Yeah, these were just pictures. It's proud. Like I'm proud of these pictures. Like to see how far I've come. The one on the left there, the far one on the left is, that was just as lean as I had gotten, and disciplined myself. But it's not sustainable. Even for somebody like me at the time, I was tracking everything I ate. I was very meticulous about what I was consuming, and like just to the T, I was tracking all my calories. And it was a little extreme. I know on this podcast we talk about addiction. I was like kind of addicted to, like, just
Yeah.
detailed. I was so detailed with, I was weighing
Yeah.
out my food. I was counting all my, like, macronutrients, like proteins, carbs, fats. I was like really specific, and that was the result of, like, I knew exactly what I was consuming, so I
Yeah.
knew whenever I hit like a sticking point,
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I was putting in my body, so I could adjust those numbers and get as lean as I wanted to. I felt really in control because I knew exactly what I needed to do.
Let's talk about that for a minute, Glenn, because I do remember part of the journey when,
Mhm.
we were still living together back in Orlando. And I'm just going to confess and be honest. And I hope sometimes people don't feel this way with me,
Mhm.
is we would go out to eat sometimes, like, say we'd go to Chipotle or whatever. And I remember you would go on your app. You had
Yeah.
some app that counted like macronutrients or whatever. And I'd be like, what the fuck you doing, man? And you're
Yeah,
like,
my
well, I
fitness
got to
pal.
figure out what I
I
can
still
eat,
use it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, if you don't mind me saying this.
No, not at all.
What I want
Not
to
at
talk
all.
about on your on this episode is, ways that I feel like every listener, everyone is not going to be super dedicated or looking to get, like, super ripped and shredded. And if you are, that's great. But, like, for the average person
Average person.
who's
Yeah.
who's working full time, who has kids, who is looking to get in shape, you don't need to track every single thing you eat. You don't need to look like, how I'm looking there on the left, or
Hmm.
to get in shape. Like, there's ways that we could discuss on, like, I feel like lifestyle approaches that, like, everyone can relate to. But for what I did here to get, down to, like, where you essentially have like no body fat percentage,
Right, right.
for the way I did it, what worked best for myself, because I'm definitely not an expert. I can just go by what I've learned, and what works best for me is
Sure.
to get to that extreme. For me, I was like, okay, I need to know. Have you ever tried to lose weight yourself, and, like, you got to a point where you're like, shit, like, I can't. I can't seem to lose that like extra 5 pounds or extra 10.
Well, you know for a fact that's
Yeah,
happened to me. So,
yeah. So it's
yeah.
called like a sticking point, like a plateau. Like, so let's say somebody's trying to lose 30 pounds and they lose 20, or then they lose 25, but they're like, man, I just cannot lose that last 5 pounds to like where they
Yep.
really want to be. For me, what helped was like I knew exactly what I was consuming. I was tracking everything. Like I said, I was weighing out my food. I was tracking my calories and macronutrients on MyFitnessPal. So when
Mhm.
I hit that sticking point, I knew how much cardio I was doing and I knew how much I was eating. So I could calculate those numbers and get down to that on the left.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
for the average person that like is working full time and has kids and is so busy and and that's just not their number one priority, because I get it now that I have a lot more responsibilities in my life, because at the time that's all I cared about was
Sure,
just
sure.
like getting in shape and
Yeah,
I
it
had a
can be
lot more
time
free time.
consuming. Yep.
Yeah, I would. That's not the way I would go about it, because you want to find something that you're gonna stick with. Like I
Some
said, a lifestyle
balance.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, gee, here's something I'd like to do.
Mhm.
Dean, if we could put the telephone number up on the screen to potentially take any live callers.
That,
We
that middle
invite.
picture is so douchey. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love it, man. That's actually one of my favorite. You look like
Oh
the
man,
Terminator or some shit there,
I
you
know,
know.
but these were like
But
10.
hey,
Yeah, I look
no,
back, I
that
like cringe at
that
some of these pictures, but I like the
that
one. The
just
one on the right's more recent. The one on the right's more recent.
yeah. Oh, I
The only
can
thing I
tell
don't like
too.
is that tattoo on my chest. I wish I wouldn't have got that, but
No,
no one
I
cares,
love
right?
it. I love it, man. I love it. We're gonna do a whole episode, by the way, all about ink, and I want to have you on that
Mhm.
show. Shout out to my girl Maria back in Orlando, my tattoo artist. She's done such great work for me, and we had a long conversation. You know how you have conversations with your tattoo artist if you're sitting there for a long time, and she was telling me, people joke about going to have ink therapy. She was telling me that people literally do come in for ink therapy, especially like younger people who are what they call cutters, talking about mental health on this show and things. And sometimes their parents will bring them in. And so, anyway, I don't mean to get off topic, but we're going to have her on. She agreed to be on the podcast and do a deep dive into that topic. But
Cool.
anyway, with all that said, we'd like to invite anyone. I see we still have several viewers and listeners. We can kind of keep track. We see, like I said, we're on several Facebook, YouTube pages, YouTube channels, LinkedIn. We're on Twitter, X, Threads. So for anybody who may be watching us live, you are more than welcome to call in with any questions you might have for Glenn about fitness or myself, about recovery. If not, it's all good. We're going to keep marching forward with the show, but we do want to keep that number up and we'll flash it up from time to time. We'd love to hear from you. So, by all means, feel free to call in. Now, Glenn, you talked about trying to get past that last 5 pounds. And if you
Mhm.
remember with my journey, that you helped coach me through. I told you, I'm 61 years old, y'all. I was a pretty athletic guy as a younger man. Always been obsessed with sports. I played sports. I played baseball as a kid. I played hockey for a couple of years. I was on the football team. I was a wrestler for a couple of years. Uh, all that always loved playing basketball, all that kind of stuff, y'all. And actually was the sports editor for a newspaper for a year at Henry Ford College up in the Detroit area. So I'm obsessed with sports and fitness. Obviously, I got off track when I got caught up in, using an addiction and getting loaded all the time. And, I just told Glenn that when I started this journey of losing all that weight, that I wanted to get abs one more time in my life and get the photo like what we're seeing with him right here. And I got down to about 135 and I was in great shape, feeling great, but I wasn't seeing the definition I wanted. Then I got down to 130 and it was not easy, y'all. And I still wasn't seeing it. And I remember you saying to me, gee, well, Dad, this ain't a healthy weight for you, but if you really want that picture, I think you're going to have to get down to 125. And it took me a fucking year to get there. Oh my God, it was so hard, y'all. And I'm so happy that I did this because I'm about to show a reel right now. And that picture of me in my underwear is coming up here in the next couple of minutes. If some of y'all are still waiting for it. I literally, Glenn used to tell me, Dad, don't look at the scale. How many times a day you weighing yourself? And I'd have to be honest and I'd go, well, I do weigh myself about 4 or 5 times a day. And he'd like, you remember saying this to me, G? Like, Dad, stop. Just weigh
And
yourself once in the morning and be done with it because you're going to get obsessed with it. And I kind of did. But I'm so glad I did this. I started taking pictures of the scale right out of the gate. These are all, you're going to see this reel with all these pictures of the scale readings, and they're all legit, y'all. They're actual pictures I took of my journey from 180 down to under 125. So check this out, and it's only about a minute long, and then we're going to talk about it. So there you go, y'all.
man,
That, like I said, is a legit reel. Thank you, Glenn. I
paid the
remember
cost,
that
the boss.
I was literally in tears that morning because I went to bed after working out that night and I was like at 125.2.
Hmm.
And if you're obsessed with weighing yourself like I get sometimes, you know that when you wake up in the morning, you do your business, that's usually your pretty most accurate weight and the lightest you are. And when I saw 124.7 and I broke that 125 after more than a year long journey. Oh man, I'm trying not to get emotional talking about it right now because you are absolutely right, Glenn. Let's talk about this for a minute. I got down to the 135 consistently, got down to the 130, but I got between, I would get down to 129, go back up to 132. I'd get down to 127, back up to 135, back down to 129, up to 131. And I went back and forth like that for a whole fucking year. And that last 5 pounds was so hard. And I'm just going to be honest, y'all. I decided to go into fasting. I started intermittent fasting and I said, you know what? I've been on this I've worked too fucking hard to get this close. I'm not fucking giving up. And I'll be honest, Glenn, I wanted to prove it to you that your old man had it in him. You know, we talk about that shit. Fell down 7 times, got up 8, and I made a commitment to get down to that 125. And again, y'all, I'm trying not to get filled up because I fucking did it, man. I was so fucking proud of myself. And I don't mind saying that. That's not me being cocky or ego, y'all. I'm, like I often say, one of the most humble guys. It took me a long fucking time to do it. But anyway, Glenn, I do want to hear from you to talk more about
Hmm.
getting by that last 5 pounds. Because on that whole journey, y'all, from 180 down to 124.7, which I'm not at right now, like you said, Glenn, that's not a healthy weight for me. That's not sustainable. But I wanted the ab pictures, which I got, and we're going to show in a second. I'm holding steady right now at about 140. I feel good at that weight. I got a little up there over the summer. I was vacationing and stuff, but the last few weeks I've been really working hard at getting my weight back to where I wanted it. I'm in great shape right now. But anyway, if we could, Glenn, let's talk a little bit about that last 5 pounds, because the way I did it, I think fasting is healthy to do once a month to cleanse your system, some intermittent fasting, what have you. My focus was laser by that time. But what tips, recommendations might you have for anybody who, is watching or listening, or comes across our recorded version of this podcast, how to get through that last 5 pounds? Because look at those pictures, you man. It's like you obviously got it figured out.
Yeah, I mean, so with you and your transformation, you had said to me like, "Oh, I want to get abs one more time. I want to see them." And you were working them really hard. You were doing crunches, you were doing resistance training them, and you said you could feel them. You
Let's
just
go
weren't
ahead and
able
show
to
the
reveal
picture.
them. You could feel them.
Oh, wait.
And so I had, when you came to me with that,
We'll
with
show
your
them.
height, um, in your height, uh, in the body weight. At the time, I put that number. I was like looking at you. I was like, yeah, you probably got to like actually see them another 10 pounds to lose to like really see them, because I said there was two ways to get them. You were either going to need to take a year to really like put yourself
Right.
in a surplus and build the muscles even more, and then like lean down a little bit, or right now the quickest way would be to just lose that 10 pounds to reveal them. And that was the number I put in your head, and then you just became like obsessed, really
Yeah, I
like
was.
addicted to hitting that number. And you got there. I think you know getting down to that number was your main focus, and you did whatever you had to do to get to that certain weight to reveal the abs.
And
And
I'm going to
and
show the
that's with
pictures.
fasting, and it worked for you. It worked for you. I don't have that much knowledge on fasting, so I don't really want to speak on fasting because there's so much information on there, and I've heard
There
there
is
is
a
a lot
lot.
of benefits. The fasting I've done, like you said, intermittent fasting is a good lifestyle approach, where essentially what intermittent fasting is you're not going the whole day without eating.
Right.
You're gonna wake up. You're not gonna eat breakfast. You're gonna have a light lunch.
Calorie
You're able to
deficit.
have like a real big dinner and really get like the bulk of your calories and feel more full and like satisfied. So you're kind of like fasting in the morning and then eating like a nice big meal at night and still being in like a deficit to lose weight. So that's how I was, that was helping me, because um a lot of times, like in the past, there was, studies saying, well, or what the popular thing was, like eating six small meals a day, like six small
Yeah.
meals to speed your metabolism up. And that was debunked, where it was really like it came to fruition that it was kind of like calories in versus calories out. And it didn't really
Hmm.
matter if you were getting like six small meals a day or like one big meal a day or two big meals a day, as long as those calories, your calorie range was in a certain place. It didn't really matter where those meals were coming from. And for me, I like to feel full and satiated. So intermittent fasting helped me, where I was like, I'm not a big breakfast guy. I was able to skip breakfast, have a light lunch, and then I was really able to eat the bulk of my calories at the end of the day, and feel full and still be in a deficit. So
Right.
for me, my approach, what I would say to anybody who's looking to, maybe, if whether it's to burn fat, lose weight, get in shape, my approach to it, what I did for my transformation, right, is you're gonna get, for you it was, when you see that number on the scale, when you're looking at the scale, it is, if that number's going down, you're losing weight. Now you might not be just burning fat. The weight could be water weight. You could be losing,
Hmm.
you could be burning fat. You could also be losing muscle. So you don't want to just go by that number on the scale. um, and you're going to get your most accurate weight on that scale right when you wake up in the morning.
Hmm.
So let's just say for me, I wanted to lose 25 pounds, right? Let's say I'm at 175 pounds and I want to get down to 150. I'm going to wake up each morning, right? I'm going to
Right.
step on the bathroom scale right when I wake up in the morning, and I'm going to write that number down. I'm not going to step on the scale again throughout the day, because your body can fluctuate between like 5 to even up to 10 pounds, depending on what foods you consume, water retention. So it can really mess your mind up if you're stepping on the scale, when you wake up and then later you see that it's 5 or 6 pounds heavier and you're like, what the heck? Like, what's going on? And you just get upset or depressed, and you can really become, obsessed
Yeah,
with that
yeah.
number. So to just get rid of all that, it's just step on it once a day, right when you wake up in the morning, and you're going to write that number down, and you're going to do that each day, 7 days a week, right? You're going to add up all those numbers on the seventh day, and then you're going to divide it by 7, and you're going to write that number down. That's going to be your weekly average. So out of the 7 morning weigh-ins, after you added those up and divided them by 7, you're going to take that weekly average. And each week you're going to do the same thing. And if that weekly average is going down, you're losing weight. It might not all be fat, but if
Right,
that
right.
number is going down, you're losing weight. The ways to lose weight is you got to be in a calorie deficit.
Yep.
Now, what I've done, because I've made every mistake in the book, I've tried everything, and what I've seen a
Learn
lot of
by default on some things.
yeah, is sometimes when you want to lose weight, you want to hit the ground running. You're like you go from eating like so much crap and and drinking so much sugar and eating so much crap to like, I'm ready to get in shape. I'm ready. Like, you're ready to go. You're motivated. And
Mhm.
so what I've done and what I've seen other people do is like they just slash their calories in half. They just, start eating like just, tuna and a salad and a little bit, and like drinking some water, and like basically like eating like less than 1,000 calories and starving yourself to the point where like you're not really consuming much, and you're gonna lose weight. It's gonna be great. You're gonna see the scale number going down.
Mhm.
You're gonna feel good, but that's only gonna last so long. And if you're trying to lose 30 pounds, your body is very adaptive. And I think you realize is your body's real adaptive. And what happens is once you start eating, being in such a deficit, a large deficit, say you lose 15 pounds, your body's going to hit a sticking point. Your metabolism's going to adapt to that. It's not sustainable. You're doing cardio every day. You're eating like a chicken salad. So, and then you're stuck. You're like, what? Like, I still want to lose 20 more pounds. And I'm like, sticking to my diet. I'm doing cardio every day. What's going on? There's things where you can damage your metabolism. You get a
Yeah,
sticking
yeah.
point, and you can't wait. You can't eat less. You can't do more cardio. So I say all that to say, my personal opinion, if you're trying to transform, and this is from a body composition point, when you're trying to lose weight, is slow. It's like the tortoise and the hare. I think slow and steady wins the race. You want
Mhm.
to, this might sound silly, but you want to eat as much food as you can while still being in a deficit. That
Yeah.
way, you always have room to play with.
Yep,
So for
yep.
me, let's just say I'm at, like I said, 175 pounds, and I want to get to 150 because I want to lose 25 pounds. Um, and anyway, yeah, and I want to get to that number. I'm gonna step on the scale each morning. I'm gonna go by
Mhm.
that average weigh in, and I'm gonna try what I talked about. I'm gonna try to, make sure that weekly average is going down. I'm gonna start out by eating as much food as I can while doing as least cardio as I can. And then each week I'm going to add a little more cardio. Like, I'm going to lose some weight. And as soon as I start seeing that I'm not losing weight, or I'm not going by how I'm feeling, like I look in the mirror, then I can like either cut my calories a little bit, or I can add more cardio. And you always want to have room to play with. The last thing you want is like you lose, you know, 15, 20 pounds, and you realize you still got 10 or 15 more or 20 more to lose, and you're already doing cardio every day. And then eating less, because then you're going to end up, that's not sustainable, and you're going to end up like saying, screw this, I don't care how much willpower and discipline you have, that's not sustainable, and you end
Well,
up back to how you were
yeah.
before. So
Let's talk about that for a minute, Glenn, because you touched on it, and certainly this is, I think, part of what happened with me, and you and I talked about this, between the two of us, that if you really are, I wasn't like starving myself. I certainly was eating a lot of high protein, low fat, low carb stuff like tuna. Thank God I love tuna, so I didn't mind eating it. I was eating a lot of, turkey, chicken, stuff like that. uh so that I wasn't like starving myself. What I'll also say is you can get into such a calorie deficit where, again, you and I talked about this. I think your body, when you're trying to get that last 5 or 10 pounds, almost goes into like mode where it's like, okay, I'm not getting enough calories, I'm not getting enough fat, I'm not getting enough carbs, and your body almost is like refusing to shed any more weight because it's hanging on to it,
Yeah.
almost like a survival mode. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, it's real adaptive, and like your
Yeah.
body can adapt, to those low calories, and your metabolism starts to slow down. So, to answer the question, to like lose that like last 5 to 10 pounds is really, you just don't want to get to you don't want to plateau and get it to a sticking point. You want to have room to play with, because the last thing you want to be doing is like be lost. Okay, I can't, if I eat any less, I'm not eating anything. And if I do any more
Yeah.
cardio, I can't, I'm already doing like cardio like 7 days a week. So
Yeah.
real essentially you just need to be in a calorie deficit, and just make sure you're keeping your metabolism healthy. And at the same time, your body has, this is what worked for me. And again, I believe in lifestyle approaches. Something when I say lifestyle, I mean not going on a diet, but what you're gonna stick to. You want to you don't just want to get in shape. You want to get in shape, and you want to stay in shape.
Stay in shape.
And
Yeah.
staying in shape and getting in shape isn't like having like a ripped six pack, but getting to your goal of what you want, and being able to maintain that healthy lifestyle.
Well,
Now,
you know what, Glenn? I don't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to say that, you've hit on something that we've talked about. And I'll even say this to people who know the journey I've been on. They'll ask me, well, like, what diet did you go on, bro? And I'm like, I never went on a diet. I just started eating healthy. And that's how I've been able to maintain it, because people do go on them yo-yo diets where they lose a shit ton of weight and then boom, they're right back up there. I've been able to maintain, yeah, I gained a few pounds over the summer, had visitors, going on vacation, eating meals, what we call treat meals. I used to call them cheat meals. And G told me, no, Dad, they're treat meals. You got to have a treat meal every now and then. You earned it. You deserve it. And I appreciate you telling me that. But you get what I'm saying, man.
well,
It
yeah, I get what
truly
you're
is.
saying. So
Mhm.
when I say like not a diet, right? Like there's all these different diets out there, like keto or low fat or carnivore, where it's like you just eat meat, and
Yeah. Yep.
Atkins, and all these different diets. And for me, is like I like proteins, I like carbs, I like fats,
Variety.
I like desserts, I like everything, and I don't want to be a prisoner to a diet point
Yeah.
where like I
Yeah.
say I'm out at like a function or a outing, and I'm like, oh, I can't eat
Be
that
that
because I'm on
guy,
a
like,
diet.
oh, I
Or
can't eat. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, not even that, just like, yeah, just like I want to be able to, just enjoy, whatever's being presented, where I'm like, okay, I can eat whatever I want, but I just know that I need to be in a deficit. And my approach is something that whoever is watching could look up, is something called flexible dieting, if it fits your macros. And what that means is that there's macronutrients, which is your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. And each macronutrient plays a vital role for your body to function. And there's a doctor named Dr. Eric Helms who kind of brought this to fruition about 10 years ago, like brought light to it, like made it popular, where a
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
research was coming out about if it fits your macros. And I don't want to try to explain it right now because it would take up too much time on all the details. And if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
interested, Dr. Eric Helms has a YouTube channel that explains it more. If you just look up if it fits your macros, flexible dieting, you can learn more about it. But what that really kind of like the meat and potatoes of it is that you can
Pardon the pun,
you can
right?
still eat, yeah, what you want to eat, like if it fits in your macronutrient range and your calories, and still be able to enjoy certain foods and not feel guilty about it, because you're
Hmm.
still in a, as long as your body's still in a deficit, and you're still going to burn that weight. So I don't like these diets where you have to cut out fats, or you cut out carbs, or cut out proteins, unless that's something you want to, because for a lot of times people aren't going to stick to that. And
Yeah.
for me, what I've been doing for like the past like 10 years that seems to be working is, some resistance training to like maintain your natural muscle mass or even build a little muscle mass.
Yep.
And it gives you, again, from like a body composition standpoint, what I want to look like. But from food consumption is
Hmm.
just making sure my diet is balanced. So I go by
Balanced. Yeah.
high
Yeah.
protein, moderate carbs, and fats, because protein is good. It's what's going to keep your muscles, recovered, and fats is going to keep your hormones in check and your testosterone. Because if your
Hmm.
fats are too low, it can cause stress. It can raise
Yeah.
cortisol levels, and your
Mental
carbs.
health.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
carbohydrates can is your body's like primary energy source. So sometimes when you just go so low carbs, you
Hmm.
get a little sluggish, and you're not you're not, again, carbohydrates is your body's primary energy, so you're not as energized. So and I want to be able to like enjoy like some rice or some
Yeah.
potatoes or some rice cakes,
Snacks
or
once in a
yeah,
while.
whatever it might be, like some carbohydrates, and I can't eat carbs, and I want to be able to enjoy like a nice like steak or some salmon or some fish. So I don't like to go super low fat. And then
Hmm.
protein, just eating high protein to like, when I'm working out to recover, for your muscles to recover. So anybody who's listening, I hope that wasn't confusing. If you're interested in that,
No.
again, it's called flexible dieting. If it fits your macros, and
And what's the YouTube channel again, Glenn?
well,
And
there's
the
a couple.
doctor's
There's a
name?
couple. There's the doctor who's made that popular is a doctor named Dr. Eric Holmes. You can look him
Eric
up.
Holmes. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a YouTube channel that I like by let me just quickly spell his name real quick, because it's
Yeah.
hard to spell. His name's Sean Nelwani,
Yeah. Yeah.
SEAN, and then NALEWANYA.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
look.
Sean
There's
Elwani. So this guy right here, he can explain it a lot better. I think this guy right here, he's a natural fitness enthusiast as well. He doesn't take any sort of steroids. He's not on any drugs. He's not trying to sell anything. He's just
Mhm.
a guy that gives good fitness advice for any male or female out there that's looking to just get in good shape. I think his advice is great, and it's not confusing. He keeps it very simple.
Right.
And then there's another one named uh, Dean, if you have that one, I think his name's Joe. Yeah, Joe Delaney.
Joe
He's
Delaney.
someone based
Yeah.
out of UK. He's more my age, but again, he's not on any steroids. He's very natural, and he's just got really good advice about fitness that could go more in depth and more detailed if anyone's interested on, like, form and certain, and just like that bodybuilding lifestyle approach. But
Well, gee, I got to interject and say, because, I was going to touch on this and you just mentioned it for the first time on this show. You mentioned steroids. And I want to put that out there for all our viewers and listeners, because, again, as especially looking at them photos, a definition of y'all, there's some people, I guarantee, Glenn, looking at them go, oh, that motherfucker juicing. And I promise and assure y'all, G does not juice, nor do I. This is all natural, healthy fitness lifestyle. And then, Glenn, I wanted to go on to these next pictures because you've referenced these guys that are such a good influence on you and that you've recommended to me, and now our viewers and listeners check out. But I've also been very proud of you, that you have done a lot by trial and error, and you followed the advice of some guys that I pulled some pictures of. And so tell us a little bit of these two photos here and how influential they've been on you.
Well, the guy on the left is a guy named Brandon Carter, and he
Brandon
goes by
Carter,
the
yeah.
username on Instagram and YouTube, King Keto. And
Yep.
when I took this picture with him, this was back in like 2015, and his brand at the time was High Life, and not the sense of like getting high, but high life and like living at the highest potential. So that
Right,
was his
right.
brand. And he was just a big influence on me in fitness, but not just fitness. Just changing your lifestyle approach of like being disciplined and reading more, and had a good positive outlook on things. So I was really looking up to him at the time, and he was a
Hmm.
motivational speaker. His name's Brandon Carter. But what's funny about him now is that he goes by the name King Keto, and he's real big in like the ketosis diet, like no
Mm-hmm.
carbs and high fats, and there's a lot of benefits to that too. But I didn't agree with
Atkins.
that because I want to be able to eat rice and potatoes and
Right.
carbohydrates. I don't want to limit myself to no carbs. So
But still pretty cool to have met the guy, you know, because that is a little bit of an older picture, right? I
yeah,
mean,
no, he's great. I mean, he's got some really good motivational videos on YouTube. If anybody's looking to get like a little like motivation in their life, he really has some power. He has a powerful story about his dad taking his life and how he was able to get through that, and how he
yeah.
was able to get out of he was living in poverty and get out of the hood and really make a create a name for himself and become a millionaire just through motivational speaking and fitness. And it's crazy because I started watching him on YouTube when he was just living in the hood, created a YouTube channel just putting out some fitness advice, and he's now living here in Miami, Florida, and he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Just from grinding and hustling. So I so motivated. I was so happy to meet him at the time. Just that's why I look up to guys that are just like very motivated, and you could just tell he's a good person. So that's who that is on the left. And then on the right there is
That boy Dustin.
one of my biggest inspiration.
Shout out Dustin if you
fighter,
see this,
Dustin
bro.
Poirier. I've actually confided in him, and like he knows about your story, about what you went through, and like was able to speak to him. And I was letting him know when you got to meet him there, it was like motivating to you. And this was right before you got clean. So
we went to a meet and greet in Lauderdale. Actually, when I hit my 2 years, I put something out there, and he liked it and sent me a message like congrats or whatever. He is such a cool guy, y'all.
Yeah,
Dustin
he's the
Poirier,
best.
he's the shit, man.
Yeah, no, he's great. I mean, he again just having his poster on my wall, looking up to him, watching. There's a documentary if anyone's interested called Fightville, and before Dustin was signed to the UFC, he was just a kid living in Louisiana, and a guy filming a documentary there just happened to run into him. He was fighting out of like a barnyard, like rodeo arena, because he was so passionate about fighting before it was really popular. And started filming a documentary called Fightville. Little did the guy filming the documentary know that Dustin was going to become like a UFC star and be the first guy to ever knock out Conor McGregor. And I've been like, man, I've just been looking up to him for so long, and so having a poster on my wall and working out, motivated by him, I got the opportunity to meet him. And I just shared how much his like story and how much I looked up to him, what he meant to me. And like, this is how cool of a guy he is. He like, just would, just reach out to me and answer any of the questions I had. And we kind of built a friendship that I'm proud of today. And, I'm happy. It makes me so happy. Like,
Well, I just got to say it, I'm just going to put it out there, man. I just think it's so cool that you and your beautiful wife, my daughter-in-law, Awana, went to Las Vegas when he fought Conor and beat him the second time. And and then you guys went to like the after party hoping to see him, and you ended up getting into his VIP area and got a little video of it and shit. I was gonna put it on the show today, but I didn't want to embarrass you too much.
Fine.
But he literally he really is that cool of a guy, as G's saying. So yeah, man. That last fight didn't go his way. I think I'll never say he lost that fight, because one thing about Dustin Poirier, he is not a fucking loser. He is the comeback kid. Justin Gaethje just had the upper hand that day. I'm looking forward to Dustin coming back, and I really do think he will, man. I think he's going to fight again. So.
I mean, that's why I love him so much. Is that it's not because he's a great fighter and that he's like on top of the world, like best at his craft. In my opinion, the greatest fighter in the world. It's the reason I love him so much and I look up to him so much is that he is the definition of you never give up, perseverance. Like what we say, like you fall down 7 times, you stand up 8. Like his nickname is Mr. Bounce Back because he might get knocked down, but he's always going to bounce back. And he always, he taught me what I learned from Dustin. The most important thing I learned from Dustin is how to replace my complaints with gratitude. And it brought a lot of like, clarity and like happiness into my life. Cause we all have our bad days. But I think when you can, find gratitude in the little things, it really makes you appreciate life more. And I know, and that's what I've learned from him. So, and that's why I look up to him so much.
Well, and you know what, Glenn? I wanted to show these pictures in part
Mhm,
because these two guys here, I know how influential they've been on you. Carter, when you were a little bit younger, I think, and then Dustin kind of moving forward and up to now, they have been indirectly influential on me
mhm,
in helping me to get my life back on track and getting back in shape because I saw how much you looked up to them guys and it was a motivation for me. And then a lot of the coaching and encouragement you gave me was based on a lot of the learning you got from these guys. And then, not to go too deep into his story because, it's his story, but this stuff is out there on the internet, y'all. Dustin's done interviews where, when he was a younger man, he struggled with getting loaded too much. I ain't going to say he was an addict or whatever, but he talks openly about it. How before he became a badass fighter, his life, was, how should I say it? Gee, he was getting loaded too often, and he straightened his ass out and cleaned his act up. And look at him now, man. And so the point I'm making is that has been so fucking motivational for me. And I got to tell you, man, I'm just being honest. I don't want to sound like a fangirl or a stan or whatever, but sometimes when I'm in the gym, man, and I'm fucking powering through it and doing that last sit up or lifting that last, I think about these guys like, yeah, fuck yeah, So
yeah,
I really wanted to show these photos because even though, I never really got close to them like you did, Glenn, they have indirectly been inspirational to my fitness journey and me getting back healthy again. So I'm grateful to them too.
yeah, yeah. No, that's
Okay.
great. Yeah, they're yeah, I get it, and they're motivating.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, hey, let's move on because I've been teasing this and dancing all around it, y'all. So that's the long and the short of my fitness journey. And I wanted to show this because this, I showed the fat face picture of me, but this particular picture of my face, you can see the determination that you actually took this picture of me, Glenn. I was
Yeah,
lifting. This was at a gym in Kissimmee in South Orlando in Central Florida. But there's me in my undies, y'all. I've been promoting this on a reel for the last several days. Tune in and see Glenn in his underwear. And that was a picture I took after losing that belly. And then you can see the close up on the right. I finally got those fucking abs, man. After having that big ass, fat ass belly, there it is. And there's another picture of me on
yeah,
Muscle Beach with you, G. This was
yeah.
last
Look at
summer.
those
But
biceps.
yeah, man. I mean, look at that. Look at that belly. There I am at
Yeah,
180. Let me go back. And I got to them fucking abs. Oh my God. I'm getting emotional talking about it, y'all, because I can't fucking believe I actually did it. And Glenn, I'm just so grateful to you for being on this show today to talk about our journey, both of our journeys. We showed your before and after pictures when you had bulked up. And again, there's mine, y'all. There's mine. Okay, there I am with the big belly. And there I am on the right, and then there's the abs and me in my undies. So if you're struggling, y'all, with physical fitness, weight challenges, things to that nature, you can fucking do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And Glenn, I'm so grateful to you for coaching me to get to this point and also for sharing with our viewers and listeners on the program today some of the tips and recommendations that you have. Now, I know you got an early start in the morning, so I don't want to hold you hostage too much longer. But before we let you go, man, just go ahead and add anything else to the conversation you'd like to, and then we'll let you go. And then for anybody still watching and listening, we're going to go into the opioid news, opioid crisis in the news. I got some fun music stuff, some shout outs coming up and stuff. But we don't want to hold G hostage all night long. But Glenn, I just want to thank you so much again for helping me and being on the show to talk about this topic today because, yeah, I'll get done with what I'm talking about here in a second so we can hear from you. But this journey of recovering from addiction, like I said earlier in this program, it's not just, mental, because obviously you got this mental battle going on and you try to get some peace on a spiritual level. It is physical. And, one thing I'll say, to folks thinking about maybe going down this physical fitness journey is once you start working out, man, it gets those dopamine levels going, it really, really does. And it becomes almost like an addiction, but a healthy addiction. And Glenn, I want to talk about, there's a couple other things I wanted to bring up before we let you go too, where we're going to talk about sugar, but anything you want to add on everything we just talked about there?
Yeah, no, I'll add. I'm just so proud of you. I mean, that's definitely
Oh,
one
thank
hell of a
you.
transformation. One thing I would say to anyone listening, what I wanted to kind of get across too was, if you're looking to get, from me speaking from a body composition standpoint and just trying to get in good shape, a lot of times people stick to just doing cardio, being in a diet and or a calorie deficit and doing cardio. I would say a big transformation for you was also being able to build some muscle mass, and you can do, what you did was a body recomposition where you were basically burning body fat and building muscle at the same time. And that's very a lot easier for somebody who hasn't been doing resistance training and gets into some sort of resistance training routine. You're going to, basically build some muscle mass and lose fat at the same time, and it's going to give you that body composition you're looking for. If you I've seen where you can go just doing cardio, where you go from like a big potato to a small potato. You go from like being kind of fat to like skinny fat. But if you kind of get in the gym, and when I say resistance training, I'm not talking about, you don't have to be like a bodybuilder and lifting all these heavy weights, but doing some sort, whether it's with bands or with some weights or with some machines, and training
Mm,
your chest, training your shoulders, doing some rows and some pull downs, training your back, training each muscle group. By doing some resistance training, you're still burning calories, you're still sweating. And when you lose weight, I'm telling you, you're going to like the way you look so much
yeah.
more when you're keeping your muscle mass, but also building some muscles at the same time.
Well,
And you're
Glenn,
going to do that by, real quick, you're going to do that by eating protein with every meal, and having a balanced diet with carbs and fats, and being in a deficit. But also, the biggest takeaway I want people to know is just try doing some resistance training while
yeah.
being in a deficit, and I'm telling you, you're gonna see your body transform. And that's what, you're gonna start to really, I think, see the way and you can only know what you want to look like when you look in the mirror, and you can do anything you
Yeah.
set your mind to. But for most people I talk to, they want to just have, like, look good with the shirt off or feel better about themselves. And you're going to get that from doing some, sort of resistance training routine. So
I
that's
gotta
what I wanted
say,
to add.
for those who are watching and
Hope that
listening,
makes sense.
and for those that know me, I've created a monster. I'm just gonna say it, G. I'm just teasing you, bro. But like father, like son, you are never at a loss for words on this topic. It's a topic that you clearly have a passion for, and me. I'm always talking, running my mouth, but I just love hearing your passion. I can hear it in your voice when you talk about this, and I jumped to these photos because you're exactly right, Glenn. And this is one of the things you helped coach me through was, Dad, just you'll start to see the results, do the resistance training. And it's like, this is obviously me flexing. My arms don't look like that unless I'm actually flexing, but
No, you can
I'm
see the
still,
biceps are huge. Like, you grew your arms, you grew your shoulders. Like, when those pictures, you can see, you want to get the wide shoulder, the broad shoulders, the wider back, like that V taper look. And I'm telling you, you like the way you were looking so much
oh,
more than
yeah,
when
man.
before in the past, when you would just do like on the treadmill, like do 30 minutes on the
Yeah.
treadmill. And your
Yeah.
body's so adaptive, and so when you do cardio every day, it gets adaptive to that. So if you can kind of mix in cardio with the resistance training
Yep.
while putting yourself in a slight deficit, you know, the sky's the limit, and you're never going to plateau. You're always going to have room to play with, whether it's doing more cardio or, you know, lifting more weights,
Well,
progressive
Glenn,
overload.
let me mention this because, and I want to say to anybody watching, okay, these photos, I swear to God, y'all, this is not me being cocky. This is no ego shit. Somebody maybe watch you go, look at these motherfuckers. Oh, they're putting all these pictures of them all ripped on there or whatever. I'm not, that's not what this is about. This is about me showing that it can be done. If you're somebody struggling with fitness, maybe you're not happy with, like Glenn was just describing, your appearance, the way you look, go back and look at those before and after pictures of both me and G. I get it, man. I fucking get it. I'll also say it's possible. If I can fucking do it, anybody can fucking do it. And so I just wanted to show, because I will say, I mean, I'm, humble and humility, but I'm very fucking proud of these pictures. You goddamn right I'm proud of them. I worked hard, paid the cost to be the boss and all that shit. You know what I mean? But this is not ego stuff, man. This is about, wanting to show people that you can transform yourself. And so, Glenn, I did want to mention this because this
Mhm.
is a tip you gave me that I think is important. And you told me this and you said, Dad, take my word for it. Trust me, you'll see. And where I'm going with this is I was doing resistance lifting every single day. And you told me, Dad, take a break in between. Do your resistance training one day, cardio the next, go back to your resistance. You told me I could work the abs every day because you have to give your muscles a chance to repair themselves. I love the way you explained it to me. You said, Dad, you're not building muscle when you're working out. That's when you're ripping them up. You build muscle when you sleep, and it's important to get enough and proper sleep. But you told me you got to give the muscles that day to kind of repair themselves. Is
Yeah,
that a good way to put it?
yeah, I mean, for me, I've been, doing this a long time, and I'm not an
Mm.
expert in any way. All I can do is just, speak on what worked best for me. And what I learned quickly when I first started out is like, for example, if I wanted to get a bigger chest, I thought I had to go into the gym and do push-ups and bench press and train my chest every day. And then I quickly realized, because I was sore the next day, like, oh, I don't want to work my chest out, and realizing after doing some research and learning, you're breaking your muscles down in the gym, and then when you're sleeping and you're recovering, that's when you're building them. And if you're training the same muscle every day, you're not giving them a chance to recover, and they're not going to grow, so you're not going to see the results you want, and it can get frustrating. So when you were saying you were doing resistance training every day,
Mm-hmm.
you need to, you can do resistance training or weightlifting every day, but don't train the same muscle every day. You got to give it
Mm.
at least 24 to 48 hours to recover. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, for example, say Monday I go in the gym and I want to train chest, triceps, and shoulders. The next day I'm doing back, biceps, maybe some traps. And then the next day I'm going to do my legs. Guess what? 48 hours have gone by. So the next day, if I want to, okay, I'm going to train chest again because I've given it time to recover and then you want to try to either do more weight than you did the last time or more repetitions than you did the last time with the same weight. And that's called progressive overload. And
Right,
essentially,
right.
when you progressive overload, I actually took a picture because I want to, in case no one knows what progressive overload is, I want to read the textbook definition of it because that's essentially what building muscle is. It says progressive overload training is a type of strength training that involves gradually increasing the intensity or difficulty of the workouts over time. So you want to go into the gym with a routine. You already know what you're going to do. And then you want to either track that down or remember. So the next week, you want to try to even get stronger or basically do more repetitions, like I said, and you're progressively overloading, and that's when your muscles are going to grow. Now, for somebody that's new to the gym and goes in there, you're going to get what's called newbie gains, where your body, depending on age too, and where you're at, experience wise, you're essentially your first year, you're going to put on the most muscle mass. So if you just go in there and start, if you're not doing anything and you go in there and you start doing something after a few months, you're going to see some changes.
Mm.
But
Yep.
just remember, this is the most important thing I could say I didn't mention is you can't outwork a bad diet. You can go in the gym, you can train 2-4 hours every single day, and if you're not doing what you need to outside of the gym, eating healthy, eating a balanced diet, you're not going to see the progress you want to see. So it's honestly 90%. This is my experience, and this is what I believe will work for me. It's 90% like what you do outside the gym, eating right, sleeping right, recovery, and then the other 10% is actually in the gym working out. That for me and you, that's the fun part. It's the part outside the
Yeah.
gym that's like the part where
Isn't
it's
that the
more
truth?
difficult.
No,
Yeah,
that's a good point, Glenn. And this next picture, not this one here. I just thought I'd show this as kind of a recap of everything. I got from 180 down to 124.7. And I can't thank you enough, Glenn, for helping me get there. Now, like you said earlier, a weight like that's not healthy for me or sustainable. Now I'm trying to hold steady right around 140 to 145. That's where I feel the best. You know
yeah,
what I
wherever you
mean?
feel the best at. And for anyone watching too, don't again that we picked that number for you just so you could see those abs, but also
Yeah, get that
don't
picture. Yeah.
just don't for anyone watching, don't just obsess with the number on the scale. That's just a when you have a number you shoot for, it's a good goal. But also, if you're building muscle and burning fat and you're recomping your body, that number might not change. Go if you're liking what you're seeing, if you're seeing the changes in the mirror, go by how you're looking as well. If your clothes are fitting better, if you're liking where you're looking, but that number's not moving, stick to what you're doing. The number's just a good way to like help you really stay on track, but also just go by how you're feeling, how you're looking in the mirror. And if you're not seeing the changes, then you got to kind of go back to the drawing board and see what am I not doing right. And
Yeah.
next time I'm on too, like if anybody has like, I can maybe explain things better if someone has questions, or you can, feel free to reach out to me and I can try to help you any way I can, give you any tips or
I
tricks,
appreciate
whatever
that,
your
Glenn.
goal
And
is.
and yeah, and you can, find Glenn on Insta,
Mhm.
and also you can send us messages at Dare Me Podcast. I can always get them to Glenn. Now, a couple more things, Glenn, and I promise we'll let you go soon here, kiddo. I promise. But I wanted to touch on this because you kind of brought something up, and we're gonna talk about it for a minute. Uh, all the hard work you do in the gym, if we don't discipline ourselves with what we put on our plate, is almost like all for naught. And I'm sure other people have seen this. I'm sure you've probably seen this, Glenn. I know you go mostly to gyms where everybody's in shape. I'm a Planet Fitness guy. I love it because they're 24 hours. They got the massage, hydro chair, all that stuff I like. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'll go there, and at Planet Fitness, you do see a lot of people who are out of shape that come in.
Yeah.
And I will see people in the abs room where they have all these ab machines, and I'll see them working these ab machines. And I'll be thinking, I would never say anything to anybody because I don't want nobody fucking telling me how to work out. Like, bro, I know what I'm doing. But I'll see some of these people struggling on these ab machines, and they're just so overweight. And I think to myself, bro, you're wasting your fucking time if you're really trying to get some kind of definition. I mean, any kind of exercise is good. I'm not trying to discourage anybody. What I'm saying is, you'll get these, I don't know, you call them
Well, I'll
newbies
say
or
this
whatever.
too.
But it's
Uh,
like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just think to myself, like, bro, you gotta take some of that weight off the belly before you waste your fucking time doing the ab exercises. Go hit the fucking cardio or the bikes to try to burn some calories. Why torture yourself doing
Well,
the ab
a lot
work
of
if you,
times this
yeah,
is a mistake I made too because I was doing that same exact thing. And what I learned, if you do any research, you're going to learn this scientifically proven that you can't spot reduce fat, which is frustrating. So, say for men, right, a lot of times you carry fat right in your lower stomach and your love
hmm
handles. So you
hmm
think doing crunches, right, and you want to see abs, you're going to burn fat from your belly. That's not the case. You can't spot reduce fat, scientifically proven.
no,
Your body is just
can't.
gonna take it wherever it wants to take it. It could be taking it
Yep,
from your legs, from your
yep,
ass, from your back, anywhere. And the sad part is, a lot of times that last 5 pounds is that like stubborn belly fat. So a lot of
yep.
times what I made a mistake of was like, oh, I want to see some ab definition. I'm gonna go and start doing sit-ups every day or crunches every day. Realize thinking I'm burning belly fat just from like my stomach, but you can't spot reduce fat. That's the big one. You are building the muscle. So those guys that are real overweight doing the abs and crunches, it's not for nothing. You're building it, but if you want to reveal them, it's quicker to burn the fat. If you got 50 pounds to lose, I would focus more on losing that still maybe twice, 2 or 3 times a week, doing some, resistance training. Your abs are like any other muscle, training them because everyone has abs there. When you want to reveal them, you know, my wife tells me this too, because sometimes I'll be complaining I want to see them more. Like, oh, you need to start training them more. It's not just about burning fat around them. You got to train them to see them, but they're there. You just, you got to, if you want them to be more defined, they're like any other muscle. You got to train them, but
Well,
like you
and
said, yeah, you gotta. I'm sorry, you gotta you gotta burn that fat off first to be able to see them.
Yep. And that's where I was going with that. I didn't mean that in an evil way or negative way or anything, y'all. It's just sometimes I'll see people in there struggling so hard and they're just still overweight like I was. And I'll think to myself, bro, there's other exercises you could be doing to take some of that belly weight off. So then you can go do the ab exercises to try to get some definition. But again, any exercise is better than none at all. So I guess it's good, but it's just like you
Yeah,
wanna go up and say something to them, but I'd never do it because I
no,
don't want to
you
insult
can do
anybody.
both. And again, when I say you can't, switching gears, like when I say you can't spot reduce fat, like sometimes, like for example, I had this lady who came up to me who was like, oh, she had a lot of like, kind of fat under her arms, and she was like wanting to do like tricep kickbacks, thinking she was gonna, you know, lose that fat from her arms, and you can't. Again, your body's gonna take whoever it wants to. Now, doing that's gonna be good because when you're doing some resistance training with the tricep kickbacks or training your triceps, you're gonna build that muscle. So when you do start to burn the fat, your arms gonna be more tight, and you're gonna have that muscle there. So I hope that makes sense. Like you can't, your body's gonna pull the fat wherever it wants to. So if you're like wanting to lose fat from your belly, it might lose everywhere else, and then that's the last part. Or if you want to lose fat from like, your arms, everybody is different. Everybody has different genetics. So
Yeah. Well, you know what, Glenn? Since you mentioned that, I'll say it with me. Once I start eating like more than I ordinarily would, the two spots it goes to for me is, as you can see in that picture, I get the fat, pudgy gerbil
same,
cheeks,
yeah,
and then it
same,
goes to my belly.
yeah. It
Those
goes
are
to
the
my
two
face
places.
and
Some people
yeah.
goes to their ass. Some people, their flabby
Mhm.
arms. For me, it's my cheeks and my belly. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean, mostly for guys, it's usually around like the belly and the love handles, and for
Well,
women, a lot of times it's their ass and like legs and stuff.
on that note, Glenn, let's talk about we were talking about how all the work in the gym doesn't pay off unless you discipline what's on your plate,
Mhm.
and you and I used to eat like this. Do you
Looks like
remember
you were
this?
eating more like that than me.
Oh no, yours is the same as mine. It's just mine is showing more.
I
Do
remember
you
that day.
remember this? We went to some restaurant. I don't even remember the name of it. Your
Yeah.
uncle took us there. It was somewhere on I think I-96 going up into northern Michigan. We were there visiting, and he said
Yeah.
we got to stop at this restaurant.
Looks like
That
a
is
pound of bacon
literally
on
a,
2 slices of bread.
what's that, Glenn?
Yeah, it looks like a pound of bacon between 2 slices of
Yeah.
bread.
Well, those are literally BLTs at this
Mm.
restaurant. It's somewhere between like Detroit and, northern Michigan along the freeway there.
Yeah, that's
And
vacation mode right there, so you're not gonna get
yeah,
the,
yeah.
abs eating that.
Well, I guess if you're on like an Atkins or a keto diet, skip the bread and eat all that fucking bacon, but those are legit BLTs right there, you know what I mean? And I just thought I'd show that. I know you probably haven't seen that picture in a long time, but I remembered I
Yeah.
had it and I just thought it'd be fun to show it on this podcast. It's going back several years, y'all,
Yeah.
Glenn, there was one more thing I wanted to talk to you about since
Mhm.
we are talking about food here, and then we'll cut you loose, kiddo. I really appreciate you hanging with us as long as you have. We talked about disciplining yourself when it comes to food, and this is the hardest thing for me.
Mhm.
And I think for most people,
Yeah.
certainly that I've talked to, when it comes to watching what we eat, and that is, that I've always had a sweet tooth.
Mhm.
And this show being about people who are trying to live clean, when you're coming off the booze is such a high calorie thing. There's so much fucking sugar and calories and carbs in it that you crave sugar when you get sober, and you just like go balls to the wall eating cookies and cakes and pies and drinking soda and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
that's one thing, man. I will say, there's a lot of studies out there that say, sugar can be as addicting as cocaine. They've done scans of the brain where it lights up the same parts of the brain as cocaine does and makes
Mhm.
dopamine receptors and
Yeah.
opioid receptors active and all this kind of shit. And so I really want to hear what you want to say about this. I'll also say one of the first things I did, y'all, in my weight loss journey was I quit drinking regular soda. I have not drank a regular soda in, I couldn't even tell you. It's definitely been over a couple of years. There's something like 7 teaspoons of sugar in one fucking 12-ounce can of ordinarily soda or ordinary soda. Like, that's insane to me. And so I drink, like, Coke Zero, Pepsi Zero, Dr. Pepper Zero, or diet. And then you always got some smartass who will say, "Oh, that's got that artificial sweetener in there. It'll give you cancer." Yeah, if you drink a fucking case and a half of it a day, it's like,
Yeah.
bro, you're trying to justify drinking that much fucking sugar when you have alternatives, and you'd have to drink a shitload to have maybe a slim chance of it maybe causing some kind of cancer. I'll take the diet or the Coke Zero much, instead of the regular soda. And then, something you taught me, Glenn, too, if you remember back when I gave up soda, which I never drank a lot of it anyways, as you said to me, especially with the macchiatos I was drinking from Starbucks, you know, fucking things had like 50 grams of sugar in them. And you said to me, "Dad, would you rather eat your calories or drink your calories?" Do you remember saying that to me?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the biggest things I did to change my direction, y'all, was cut out the sugar. You still got to have some, but man, have I learned to limit my sugar. And one of the ways I've helped with even the sweet tooth is I'll eat things like sugar free jello. I don't know how healthy it is for you, but it definitely tastes good. And it helps fill that craving for me. Cool Whip, which again maybe ain't the healthiest, but you can even get sugar free or fat free Cool Whip. I mean, even the regular is not got that much in it, so you can add a couple tablespoons, mix it in with some jello, have a parfait, man. There's lots of alternatives to sugar if you have that sweet tooth craving. But anyway, with all that being said, Glenn, would you agree that sugar is an addictive substance and one of the biggest culprits when you're trying to lose weight and live and eat healthy?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely addicting. I got a sweet tooth just as much as like you do. I think what helped you too is what's helped me is like whenever I've cheated, or gone off off my diet or like calorie
Hmm.
deficit when I'm trying to burn fat would be when I'm in a calorie deficit and I'm like hungry is like when I break it because I'm like so hungry and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I want to feel full and satiated. So if I'm drinking, if I'm still in a calorie deficit but I had a Coke or I'm drinking my calories, I'd rather just use the bulk of my calories to eat. And so
Yeah.
drinking like diet sodas or not drinking calories has really helped me because I'm able to just use all my calories that I'm by eating. And speaking from a like a body composition standpoint, not a health standpoint, because that's what I'm discussing, is just like how to like transform the body, not like health wise, because again, I don't know all the ins and outs of all the artificial
No, I
sweeteners and
get
all.
it.
That's
I
probably
get
not
it.
the healthiest, but from body
Yeah.
composition standpoint, it's easier or I have to find those substitutions. And like I said, I have a sweet tooth just as much as you. So, you know, sometimes, finding those substitutions, like you just said, having like a Coke Zero, or, instead of having an ice cream, like having like a cherry, like Greek yogurt, light and fit Greek yogurt, kind of fills that sweet tooth craving. It's just finding
Well,
those substitutes that,
but
by looking at the nutrition label, that's going to, instead of having like a
well,
candy
yeah.
bar.
And but you and I've talked about this before, Glenn. You got to be real careful with that shit. One thing you did also for me is you turned me into a label reader. And if everybody's ever watching me in the grocery store, I bet people fucking laugh sometimes because if you do watch me, you'll see me pick something up and I'll think, "Ooh, that looks good. That looks good. Maybe I can eat that." And I'll flip it over, read the label, and it's like, "Fuck," and just toss it back in, like, "Ain't can't have that," because I say this, man, we've all heard the stories about how America is so obese, we're all obese and overweight here in the States. And my feeling is like we've been sold up the fucking river. And I say that because we've been sold up the river on the fucking sugar, man. Everything is just loaded with fucking sugar, and it's not even natural sugar like in fruits and shit. It's these artificial sweeteners. And, you see people in 7-Eleven with these big gulps and they're drinking them all fucking day. And I'm just like, oh my God, and I'm not being judgmental or critical to anybody because that was me at one time in my life. But I've learned now, y'all, and I hope I stick to it for the rest of my life, to really monitor the sugar. Yeah, you got to have some, but if you don't pay attention to them labels and shit, man, eating cakes and pies and cookies and fuck, man, you remember, Glenn, there were times I'd buy a fucking pack of Oreos and a half gallon of milk and sit in front of the TV and eat the whole fucking pack and drink the whole thing of milk. Oh my God, that's crazy,
So that's why, me and you are very different in the sense that for me, what really helped, what I talked about earlier, was the whole flexible dieting and if it fits your
Yeah.
macros, which again, let me explain what if it fits your macros and how I think it's not the right approach for you, because we have two different, ways of like that addiction, right? So for me, if it fits your macros is basically, say you eat like 90% clean, like, when I say clean foods, like your nutrient dense foods, like chicken, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, like whole foods, you can fit, right? If it fits your macros, which macros is protein, carbs, fats. And if you're in their calorie range, you can maybe fit a couple Oreos at the end of the day. You may be able to fit like an ice cream cone or whatever you're craving at the end of the day or throughout the day. If you can have a portion of that, if it fits your macros, flexible dieting, you can eat that and not feel guilty, not feel like shit, I just ate that. Now, like I messed my whole diet up. Now
And
I'm
if
gonna
you can control it to just a couple,
exactly. For me, at the end of the day, I like look forward to, I'm like, okay, I can enjoy my 2 like Oreos or like whatever I might be craving and then be done. For you, or for a lot of people, like addicts, once you start, that's it.
Yeah, that's it,
I'm eating the
man.
whole pack. There is no if it
Yeah.
fits your macros or flexible dieting.
Yeah.
So that's where, for you, what we talked about would be the best approach is like maybe just having a treat day or a treat meal,
Yeah.
whatever you're craving once a week, to where you're not feeling guilty and you're just eating clean throughout the week. But for
Mhm.
me, it's like, okay, I don't need that cheat day or that treat day because I'm able to like, have that, I want to say like discipline to where I can just satisfy that craving, just have like a portion control, like a taste, and then I'm good. I don't need to eat like, eat like that whole bag of chips, like, just have a portion. So anyone who might have that discipline to where it's like, oh, I just need to, satisfy that craving, and it's look up flexible dieting or if it fits your macros. And then the other approach I would say that kind of traditional way of just eating nutrient dense whole foods, because those foods are going to keep you full and you're still going to be at a calorie deficit. And then if you can stick to that 6 days a week, that seventh day, I'm not saying go to like the all you can eat buffets but whatever you're craving throughout the week, enjoy that with feeling guilt-free, and it's going to help you stick to that diet or that calorie
Yes.
deficit that much longer. So those are two different approaches to go about it.
Yeah. Well, gee, I know it's getting late there on the East
Yeah.
Coast and you got to work early. We're approaching 11 o'clock. And man, we still got several viewers. Want to say shout out to our viewers. Thanks for sticking with us this long. And of course, anyone who comes across the recorded version of the show, we hope you've enjoyed the content. More to come, but we're going to let G go in a second. Before we let you go, G, I just thought I'd play this video because you have been my coach through this journey, which I'm so grateful for. And this is just a short little cute video I thought you'd get a kick out of a workout coach. Check this out. Simple. I saw that online and I said, "Oh, I got to pull that
Everyone needs a
shit."
good spotter, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, good spotter.
yeah,
And so anyway, with all that said, y'all, there we are. That's me and my boy G. That was at gym in South Orlando and Kissimmee last summer. And man, that's one of my very favorite pictures of us, Glenn,
yeah.
because we're both just in like really
You're
kind
in
of like
good places in our life. Yeah.
yeah, good places in our life, best shape of our life. And so
Those
thank you
arms.
again.
You're
What's
out.
that?
You're out angling me. I don't like it.
Yeah, right, right, right. Well,
I'm
hey,
supposed to be
kiddo.
like the young, like fit, and like, you're in better shape
I
than me.
know I
And,
look
your
like I'm
arms
the
are bigger
coach,
than
right?
mine.
Yeah. No, you're the coach and I'm the finished product, but
No, I'm
not
proud of you.
finished, a
You were,
work in
yeah.
progress, but
That was a special night. We had a really good workout, and I
yeah.
had fun. Yeah, it was. I'm really proud of you. Just keep doing what you're doing. When you're staying clean and sober and working out, you just seem to be in the best place in your life. So just keep it
Yeah.
up. And I was happy to come on and talk. I just say one more thing is like I definitely am not like the one who has all the answers and thinks I know it all when it comes to health and fitness. I'm
I
still
get it
a
clear.
student of the game. I like to,
Yep.
try to like always be learning. But what I spoke about is what helped me, is what worked best for me. And so I say it's just trial and error. Just try different things and try to find what
Yeah.
works best for you. You obviously found what worked best for you, so I'm proud of you there. And then just not giving up. Just if you get discouraged, just try to just don't throw in the towel. Just have perseverance, and as long as you just keep going at it, you're gonna find what works best for you, and you're gonna get to where you want to be. And it doesn't have to be like ripped and super muscular. As long as you're
Yes.
looking in the mirror and you're happy with what you see, that's what counts.
That's a good point, Glenn, because that journey I was on, excuse me, as we've talked about on this show, I'm going to be 62 years old in a few months. And
Yeah.
I just, you know, you motivated me when I saw them pictures of you looking so chiseled. I thought, God damn, man, I was like that when I was a younger man and in shape. I want to get them abs one more time. And I fucking did it, man. And like
Mhm.
you said, that's not sustainable, especially for a guy my age, but I fucking did it, and I just want to maintain being toned. I kind of like being able to flex and stuff. And I want to continue to eat healthy and everything. But like you just said, man, it's all about just feeling good
Yeah.
about yourself,
Yeah.
and for a guy my age to be able to get to the shape that I'm in now, it just blows my mind. But I never could have done it without you, Glenn. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm so proud of you. I'm happy for you, and just keep it up. And I'm looking forward to seeing more progress and
Yeah,
our
yeah,
next workout together. And
yeah,
I was real happy to come on. So anytime you want to have me, I'm happy to come talk some more. Anyone watching who wants to call in next time too,
yeah, yeah.
feel free to reach out to me. So
Or anybody who sees the recorded version, if you have any questions, comments, or whatever, the emails right there on the Dare Me Podcast YouTube channel at Dare Me Podcast. You can send any messages. If you have any questions for Glenn, I'll make sure he gets them too. Glenn, I know you got an early morning. He's a working man, y'all. But thank you again for being on the show. We'll let you go, and we will talk to you and have you on again soon. And we'll talk to you again soon. Okay, kiddo? Peace.
I love you. And next time
Love
I
you
want to
too.
talk to Dean about his motorcycle ride because that seemed like a lot of fun. So,
You still
um,
with us, Dean? I know we kind of had you on hold there while we were all talking. Did you hear Glenn? He wants to talk to you about motorcycles and stuff.
I haven't left. I'm still
yeah,
here.
next
Yeah.
time I'm on, when we have more time, I wanna talk to you more about your bike and that ride.
Do you ride?
No, not yet. I want to. I want to.
Okay.
I
So
keep putting it off on getting my
uh,
license, but
I'm itching
Yeah.
for a Key West ride right now.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, I'll tell you what, that ride over the 7 Mile Bridge, that was one of the best rides of my life, man. So
Yeah.
gee, you get serious about it. Let me know, man. We'll go ride
yeah,
together, you know.
definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your show, and I will see you next time. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
You did an awesome job on the show today, Glenn. Thanks, man. And we'll
Yes,
talk
sir.
soon. All right,
All
kiddo.
right. Peace.
All right, peace. Bye.
Bye.
All right. How about that, Dean and everybody? Am I blessed or what, man? What a fucking great kid. Oh my God. I just love that boy so much. He's been so instrumental in helping. That's so bizarre, isn't it? When your own kid helps save your life and literally turn things around for you. He's such a great kid. I must have done something right bringing him up because we'll sometimes joke around and he'll say, "Yeah, Dad, you showed me now how not to fucking live, with all
That
my
might be.
struggles, which I believe there's some truth to, you know what I mean? But, you know, as we've talked about, because that's not Glenn's first time on the show, y'all. If you go back and look at, I forget what episode it was, we did a deep dive conversation into him talking about what it was like for him growing up, seeing me go through my struggles up close and personal. And as he shared, I mean, it wasn't this horrible, horrible, childhood that you hear about, unfortunately, with, some families where a parent's struggling with addiction. I was truly one of them functioning addicts. I had two fucking careers. I worked 30 years of my life. Glenn grew up in a good household. There were times though where things got out of control for me, and I was never a mean, nasty, angry, violent drunk or anything like that. I was either happy or sad. As he said. But he saw, because I was very open with him about it, that too much of something is not good for you, and that it got out of control for me. And so I think at the very least, my journey has been a good lesson for him because he's such a good kid. Lives clean and healthy and is such an inspiration, not just to me, but to others too. So, anyway, that's it. And Dean, God, you've known G since he was a little kid. You and I have
Oh
worked
yeah.
together for so many years. I remember bringing Glenn to your studio to edit videos for that restaurant show we used to do. And I still had him in his car carrier. And look at him now. You remember those days?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey y'all, we're going to transition now, and we went a lot longer on that than I thought we would. I was hoping to, maybe get Glenn out a little bit sooner, but it was just such a great conversation, y'all. So, I'm going to some of the things I was planning on doing tonight, Dean, I think I'll bump till next week, but we do want to touch on the news, okay? The opioid crisis in the news, and there's our header, y'all. So yeah, I monitor the news every week, y'all, to see what's going on with this whole opioid crisis and the fentanyl craze that's going on right now. And here's some stories that I thought we'd talk about. And we have talked a lot about San Francisco because things are so bad over there with the fentanyl crisis. And, sometimes the reporting will be a month or so behind because they got to calculate all the figures and everything like that. And so you can see this story from the Standard came out on the 18th, which was just like a little over a week ago. And for the month of August, San Fran, despite their crackdown over there, because there is a crackdown and they're trying to get things under control, they tied the record for the most drug OD deaths in a month. And here's another story about it. San Fran had one of this from the Chronicle, one of its deadliest months for drug overdoses. This chart shows the staggering numbers, y'all. So I just want to say again, man, if you think this opioid crisis is getting better, you're badly mistaken. It's not even staying the same, it's getting worse in some areas. And even with a crackdown, a supposed crackdown with law enforcement trying to get this open air drug use and dealing under control in certain areas like the Tenderloin in San Francisco and all that, in August, they had the most overdose deaths on record, tied the record. So it's just still a big problem, y'all. It truly is one of the reasons, man. I'll tell you what, Dean, I feel like I got clean at just the right time, because had I not gotten clean when I did, I very well may be dead right now, because the fentanyl craze, it had started because I've been clean over 2.5 years now. It was definitely a thing. Oh, the fentanyl was definitely out there and being mixed in and laced, fake pills on the street that looked just like the real ones and everything. It wasn't at the level it is now. And had I not gotten clean when I did, if I was still fucking using, say, right now, and I was still alive, it would just be a matter of time, man, because they're putting that shit in everything now. It's fucking scary as hell, y'all. Anyway, I talked about the crackdown and
Wouldn't like rule number one of a drug dealer is you don't want to kill your your buyers.
yeah, well, you would think,
Is
but
it, what I'm just trying to think of, let's just say I wanted to be a drug dealer,
yeah.
and I want to make drugs, and I want to like, oh, great, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna give, and I'm gonna make these, I can make these drugs, and I'm gonna put them out on the street, and I'm gonna make a lot of money. Breaking Bad,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
isn't the first rule of thumb not to kill
Your best customers, yeah.
your customers, your
You
repeat
you
business? Isn't
you
repeat business part of the? How stupid do people have to be to say, "Hey, let's just lace it with something that's likely gonna kill everybody who uses it"?
Well, here's the other side of that, though, Dean, is the drug dealers want the shit they're selling to become known as the good, and so they mix the fentanyl. And here's it even further now, because we talked with a lot of people at that event we went to, Recovery Happens, that we did a whole show on a couple of weeks ago, where a lot of people now, they're literally looking for fentanyl. That's what they want, because it gives such an intense opioid high. But you showed that picture on this show before, Dean, that it takes just, where there was a little bit of fentanyl on a penny. And it takes just this
Mm-hmm.
very small little amount of fentanyl to literally kill someone. So you got these amateur dope dealers trying to mix this shit in evenly with pills they're making fake and lacing it with. And they're not, I don't think, intentionally killing people. They don't want them to die. Yeah, they want them to keep coming back getting more, but they don't know what the fuck they're doing mixing this shit up. And it's so deadly that they mix it into the stuff to make fake pills, so people think it's the good, they come back for more. But if they take too much of it, or it's not mixed up evenly or whatever, they take it and they die. It's like this catch 22 kind of thing. It's so bizarre, man. And then of course this story here, talking about the crackdown going on over there, it sparked what they're calling this violent turf war in central San Fran. Because it's like I've talked about on the show. Yeah, it's nice to see that the authorities are wanting to do something to try to track down on it. But they go into these areas like the Tenderloin or drug infested areas and crack down. Is it kind of like just stepping on an ant pile, where now all you've done is scattered them, and they go into other areas because they got to get out of the Tenderloin. So now they're trying to go into other neighborhoods where there's already drug dealers established, and they're like, oh hell no, bro, this is our block, get the fuck out of here. And now you got turf wars going on over there. So this is a crisis that is like out of fucking control, y'all. The OD rates as bad as it's ever been, records in San Fran. Now you got turf wars going on because they're trying to crack down. Something's gonna blow, man. It's like I just feel like it's this boiling pot that's about to fucking explode.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to say about it anymore, y'all. But I'm keeping my eyes on it in the news anyway. That's that. So let's move on to this next story because this one's a trip, y'all. I know, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners do. I know a lot of elderly people that use opioid painkillers. And, again, I've said on this show, hey, man, we talk about it all the time, trying to, help people who want to get clean, but we're not going after anybody who legit uses painkillers. If you use them and they're not causing trouble in your life and they work for you and you're able to take them as prescribed, you're not, strung out buying shit off the street, whatever. Hey, do you? What's also happened, though, is that doctors are dropping patients left and right because of the federal scrutiny. The DEA will come into these places, want to pull their records. Is this a legit prescription? Did this guy have an MRI? Whatever, and now all of a sudden they're just drop patients or patients who legit need the meds can't fucking get their doctor to prescribe them. Like, oh, no, I ain't fucking doing that because they don't want the scrutiny from the authorities. But here's the thing, y'all. If you've had a patient who's been on opioid medication for however long as a doctor, and then all of a sudden you want to fucking drop them, that's like cruel and unusual punishment, in my opinion, incompassionate. You've just thrown these people into horrible fucking withdrawals, man. And now they're going through withdrawals out there trying to find another doctor that'll have compassion and write them a script. But meanwhile, they see them come into the office, they're jonesing because they're out of fucking meds. They look like a dope fiend sweating and shaking because they need more opiates. It's like I said, y'all, this, we're talking about record ODs, turf wars, the elderly being cut off of legit meds. This thing is so far reaching when you peel the layers away. It's just unfucking believable, man. And I've talked, like I said, with some of my elderly friends who have experienced this exact fucking thing, y'all. Even myself, when I was getting them from the doctor, I was getting them for, God, it had been several years when finally he told me, he goes, you know what, Glenn, I got to send you for an MRI, bro. If the DEA comes in and pulls your record, I got to be able to justify all these scripts I'm writing you. You know what I mean? And he went and sent me for an MRI, and I do have some back issues or whatever. Fuck, I'm an older guy now. I think everybody at my age has some back issues or whatever. But the point I'm making is he was literally frightened. Like, dude, I got to have something on file here showing that I'm justified writing these for you. And this story ain't going away. I'll tell you that, man. And you can see that story is dated September 23rd. So this is very fresh in the news, y'all. Just wanted to touch on that. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. And then, I just thought we'd share this story because, we talk about, the problem here in the United States, but it's not just the U.S., y'all. We talked about it, I think it was last week, about how it's out of control over in Greece, and they're really struggling over there in the UK with it. Well, this is a story out of Windsor, Ontario, which is, of course, in Canada. And you can see this story is dated just a few days ago on the 22nd, and deaths and ODs and desperation. And it talks about how bad the crisis is in Windsor, Essex. It's like out of control there too, y'all. And, I don't want to sit here and read the story to you, but if you go to the Windsor Star, because I monitor all these different news outlets online, y'all. I read everything. It ain't politically slanted on this show in any way. I'm not trying to push conservative or liberal news outlets on you. It's just in any publication or newscast you'll find they're talking about this shit. And so, yeah, here's a little more of a close up on it. If you're looking at first paragraph, just last year, y'all, they had over 7,300 opioid related deaths, and that's an average of 20 a day. 20 people a day are dying in fucking Canada from this shit, man. So we talk about it, on our show in our opening, how many people are dying every day from this shit. And it's the same in other countries, y'all. It's horrible what's going on. And then, here's another story. We, just a follow up. And you can see here, like I said, y'all, what I said is true. I monitor all the different news outlets. This is from fucking Al Jazeera of all things, but hey, man, I keep an eye on what they're covering. And we talked about this, Dean. Remember the
Mm-hmm.
daycare in New York City where the 1 year old got a hold of some fentanyl and died, and three other little kids went to the hospital? Can't even send our kids to daycare now. So, see what I'm saying? How this is so far reaching. You got turf wars in San Fran, record ODs, problems in Canada, elderly can't get their opioid pain meds, kids in daycare dying from an OD. Well, once that story was followed through on, since we talked about it, they found all this fucking fentanyl beneath some trap floor in this daycare center. And so, yeah, man, we talked it. Don't take much fentanyl to kill a person, let alone a 1 year old little kid. You mentioned it last week, Dean. Little kids rolling around on the floor. They stick their hand in their mouth. Who the fuck knows what happened? But man, oh man, that's what happened. They had this shit hidden under some fake floor. And man, it's just crazy, y'all. It is just so fucking out of control with that shit. Anyway, y'all, I just thought we'd talk about those stories in the news. So I want to do a shout out now, and this is to an old friend of mine who, God, I'd love to have on the show sometime. And this is, public information. He puts it out there on social media, so I have no reservations in showing this. Old friend of mine, Marvin Lilly, very active in the recovery community, recovers out loud. God, we've known each other over 30 years, and he runs these, clean and sober houses in Central Florida in the Orlando area. Mind, body, and soul recovery housing. And he posted just a few days ago, this is a couple of days ago, that they have immediate openings in their men's and women's recovery residences. And there's the phone number, y'all. So, we just talked about what a problem this shit is in society now. People dying left and right and everything else. And so trying to just put something out there that's part of the solution as well. And this is in the Orlando area in Central Florida. So if you live in that area, there's a telephone number to call: 407-440-1425. But if you're in any other area of the country, or maybe even out of the country, we have a lot of viewers and listeners from out of the country. If you are maybe looking for, a sober living arrangement, recovery housing, this may be an option for you. And shout out to my old friend Marvin, who I haven't talked to in a while. We just message each other on social media. He's a big football fan like me, and he knows I like the Lions, so I had to send him a message on social media saying, "How about them Lions, man?" And he was like, "Yeah." So anyway, Marvin, if you see this, bro, love to talk to you and catch up, man. It's been way too long, bro. Been too long, So love to have you on the show maybe sometime too. Talk about living clean. So anyway, Dean, I got a little present for you now, and if you remember,
Oh, right.
I went to the Dire Straits Legacy show, and we talked about it last week. And if you're a music fan and Dire Straits, they did the old tune "Sultans of Swing" and "Money for Nothing." They had a shit ton of great hits.
Mm.
Now, the lead singer and main creative catalyst in the band, Mark Knopfler, he doesn't play with this group. He kind of does his own solo thing, but they do have a few members that have been with Dire Straits for years. This dude Alan Clark, who's like a keyboard player, he's been with them since like 1980. And then you got this guy Mel Collins, who plays the sax. He's been with them forever. And so I went to see him at a place here in Sacramento called the Crest Theater, and I was talking to Dean about it. I didn't show any video clips, and Dean was like, "Oh man, I was hoping to hear you play something." So I said I was going to play that "Money for Nothing" clip, but I couldn't find it. I got it somewhere, but I couldn't find it. But I did find this one, and this is probably even more famous, maybe than "Money for Nothing." And it's just a short clip, y'all. And I thought I'd show it. So, Dean, this is for you because you asked for some clip from their show last week. Check it out.
With something, with something else.
All right. Well, like I said, it was a short clip. So, yeah, that was Alan Clark on the keyboards. He's the guy who, everybody was kind of really, focusing on because he's the one that goes back the farthest with the group back to 1980. And then Mel on sax, too. So I know, Dean, you had talked about maybe going to see him over in Clearwater, was it, or whatever?
I think they played in Clearwater last week. Yeah,
okay,
something like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, that was a fun show, y'all. So moving along, I got to talk about this one. I went to see Cannons. And oh my God, did I have fun. Now, if you remember, I talked about it on this show. I went to see them last April down in Hollywood at a place called the Roxy. And I remember, Dean, you kind of, when I showed these pictures then, you were like, woo, hubba hubba, that's Michelle Joy. And that's a beautiful picture of her with the blonde hair. Now, the thing about Cannonjaw is they've been together for like over 10 years and been making music that long, but they never made it big until one of their songs called Fire for You was picked up by a Netflix show called Never Have I Ever. And they didn't just play a clip from it, they literally played the whole song. And that was it, man. They blew up after that. They'd done interviews where they talk about after that show was on and their song was on there, they started getting calls from record companies. Now, man, they put out hit after hit after hit. A lot of their old stuff nobody knew about made it big now, and they're just huge. And I love them, man. I love their music and got to meet Michelle Joy. Those are pictures in the VIP area after the show they did in the Roxy, and she was so nice to me. Shout out Michelle. And I'm almost positive she recognized me at the show I saw them at in Sacramento last night because she kept looking my way. And I'm going to show a couple clips in a second. I think y'all see what I mean. I also got to meet Paul Davis, who's the keyboard and bass player in the band. Such a nice guy. They were so nice to me. And then, if y'all remember, I promoted this back then. They were right after I saw them in Hollywood. They were guests on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show and debuted one of their new songs. And so, anyway, y'all, I just thought I'd show that. I went to this festival called the Farm to Fork Festival right in downtown Sacramento. And it's right by the Capitol. And of course, you can see the Tower Bridge in the background on the picture on the right. And so, anyway, I thought that I would show just a couple of clips, y'all, from that show. This is the song that made them famous called Fire for You. Check it out.
I could die for you.
All right, so that was a little bit of a longer clip, y'all, but I wanted to show that, and I really dug the crowd shot there because you could tell, man. Yeah, it was packed, but man, it was a family-friendly event. You could see that little kid was up on that guy's shoulder. Everybody was just vibing, loving their music and everything, and so they also did this tune. This was actually the one they closed the night with. And she talks about this song and says, you know what? We made this song over 10 years ago, but we just love it. So we still do it. You know, we weren't even known or famous or anything back when we made it, but it's called Evening Star. And they do the cliche thing where they ask everybody to light their flashlight up on their phone. Back in the old days, we would all light our Bics, but nobody smokes anymore, thank God. So we all did. We put the flashlight on our phone, and this is kind of cool. Check this clip out.
Tell me on the wall, you've been dreaming love. We're dancing in the dark, we're spinning in circles. I'll take you to the top, and your beat don't stop. So swing on over. Tell me that you need me again. I wanna take you high into the let the stars in the sky. We could live our lives. I wanna take you into
So yeah, you can see she was looking right at me there, y'all. And I did get to talk to her for about 5 minutes when I met her in Hollywood, and I think she did recognize me. So I got one last clip. This is a short one. It's like about 10 seconds long, maybe 15. Let's see here. It's actually, beg your pardon, it's 33 seconds. I just looked. And I had to play this one though, y'all, for the shock value, like I was talking about on the front end of the show. There's a tune called Ruthless. And she says she wrote it for a girlfriend of hers who had a bad breakup, and the words are kind of self-explanatory. She definitely drops some F-bomb in here and, gets the whole crowd to chime in. It's definitely one of their most popular songs when you see them. So check it out.
you're making me look foolish, stupid, man, so ruthless. Fuck you. You're making me look foolish, stupid, man, so ruthless. Fuck you.
So yeah, there you go, y'all. So that was the Cannon Show at the Farm to Fork Festival, and you can see, man, I literally got right up at the front. I was off to the side a little bit there, but I leaned up against that rail the whole show. And when she'd come over to that side of the stage, we were like maybe 10 feet from each other. Definitely got some great camera shots, and so that was a view kind of when I was approaching the stage. You can see, the way they had it set up outside. It was such a beautiful night. And by the way, that was a free show too. There was no admission to get into the festival or for the concert or anything. And man, what a great time. I'm so happy that I went down there. So this next thing though, I wanted to show this, Dean, because I thought you would get a kick out of this and our viewers and listeners. So I walk around the thing after the concert was over, and there were, God, a shit ton of food booths. They do call it the Farm to Fork Festival, and they had all kind of art displays and everything like that. But have you ever heard of a silent disco?
Mm-mm.
Well, you're about to experience it. Check this video out.
Okay.
I had heard of it, but I'd never seen one before. So here you go. Check this out. All right, y'all. So here's something a little different. I've never seen something like this before. I've heard about them, but I've never actually seen it. A silent disco. You can't hear any music, but everybody's got headphones on and they're vibing. some singing along. But they're dancing. I could do this. How cool is that? So funny. Silent disco. Hey man, it looked like a blast. I didn't actually do it and go get the headphones, but it looked like a lot of fun. And hey, what a cool gimmick, kind of a cool thing to have at a festival like that. So anyway, just thought I'd share that experience, y'all. That's a great event. That was the 10th annual Farm to Fork Festival that I guess they've had here in Sac. And man, I had a blast. It was a lot of fun going down there. I was there Friday night. That's when that was, and I guess Saturday it was really crowded. They said like 100,000 people passed through that thing over the couple days that they did it. But I'd definitely go back again. So anyway, moving along, y'all. I wanted to share this. There's an old saying: if you don't toot your own horn, who will? So we constantly are putting out there. We want you to like, subscribe, share our YouTube channel. There's our contact information at Dare Me Podcast. And when we first started off, we had our little humble 4 subscribers and 7 videos when I really just kind of built the thing. And we have grown quite a bit by my standards, probably not by most people's, but check this out, y'all. We had Mallrat come on the show and do a shout out. She didn't come on live, but she did a shout out when I saw her over in San Fran a couple of weeks ago. And this I thought was important to show. Over the last 28 days, she's had 1.2 billion with the B Spotify streams of some of her music. And once we played that shout out, look at this, y'all. We jumped up to 56 subscribers. Now, Dean, is there any way we can bring that picture up a little higher? Because it shows the amount of views on those shout out videos. And I was hoping to show them, but our Dare Me logo's blocking it. And
Oh,
if not, no big
yeah.
deal. But the Mallrat shout out got us almost 2,000 hits on the page. The one in the middle is Billy Bob Thornton. If you go to the Dare Me Podcast page and click on shorts, y'all, you'll see these 3 shout outs. These are 3 of our biggest. Mallrat was 1.9 thousand, so 1,900 hits. Billy Bob Thornton, she got more than Billy Bob Thornton. He gave us a shout out. That got 1,700 hits. And then the one we just showed with Al Stewart, I think got 1,200 hits. So we're getting the traffic on the channel, y'all. This is just the YouTube channel, by the way. This isn't, the Facebook pages or the LinkedIn or the Twitter or the X or Threads or any of that. It's just this one YouTube channel. Now 56 subscribers might not seem like a lot, but what percentage increase is that from 4 to 56? That's got to be like 1,000% increase or whatever the hell it is. I'm not good at the math, but
Yeah.
anyway, for any of y'all watching or listening, if you would go to our YouTube channel, the Dare Me Podcast YouTube channel, and if you go there, please just click subscribe. It helps with the algorithms, helps us to come up in searches, y'all, and all that stuff. And I'm just really proud of this channel, y'all. I got it completely up to date now, and I'll be posting tonight's show, the live version of it. It's already going to be there under the live tab, but I'll clean up the timer and all that, and it'll be there under the videos tab as well. So we're almost done with the show, y'all. We're going to move into some funny memes right now. I thought this was a good one because we talked about fitness tonight and, of course, music too. I thought this was kind of funny. Some of our younger viewers or listeners may not even know what a freaking CD is, but it says, I lost my pizza cutter, so I used a Bryan Adams CD because it cuts like a knife. And if you don't know who Bryan Adams is, he's a famous musician who had a famous song called Cuts Like a Knife. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, Also, in line with the whole fitness thing, y'all, here's one for those that understand when you do leg day, your legs get kind of wobbly. If you get pulled over and a cop asks you to walk the straight line, you may have some challenges. So, I thought this was funny. He's just saying, "Hey, officer, I swear it was leg day." And then here's one, no pills, no exercise. In just 1 month, you can look chiseled too with some Photoshop courses. We showed all those pictures of me and G earlier, and I swear to God, y'all, those are not photoshopped. We're not juicing. There's no steroids. Those are legit fitness pictures of us, just trying to live healthy, y'all. And then had this last one I thought was kind of funny, y'all. Forgot to post on Facebook that I was going to the gym. Now the whole workout is worthless. So I just thought I'd share that because I'm always checking in at the gym, y'all. And for those of y'all that get frustrated by that, I get it. I get it. I do it on purpose, though, because it's a motivator for me when I see other friends of mine checking in at the gym. And we kind of, are each other's biggest cheerleader. Like, hey, I'm still doing that thing, man. And hopefully, if we can plant the seed with even one person to maybe start living healthier, get fit, eat healthy, like all the things we talked about with G on this podcast today, then it's all worth it. So, anyway, if you can't make fun of yourself every now and then, what's the point? You got to have humor and, sometimes self humor, making fun of yourself is the best kind of humor to have. So, anyway, with all that said, y'all, it's been a long show, but lots of great information. Thank you so much again to my son, G, for being on with us today. It was so cool. I hope y'all enjoyed meeting him and hearing from him and hearing all his great tips and recommendations. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you're a person struggling with substance abuse disorder, addiction, the opioid thing, whatever the case may be, we hope we provided you with some content that killed some time for you, maybe while you're trying to kick. If you're dope sick like I was, online scrolling, looking for shit to kill the time while you're getting that shit out of your system, go to our YouTube channel, maybe check out some of the other episodes. There's a lot of content on there now and more to come. So, with all that said, y'all, we often say at the end of this show, if you're going through hell, keep fucking going. You can come through the other side of it. If I can do it, you damn sure can do it too. We wish y'all all the best. Hope you have a safe week. We hope to have you on again or have you back to watch or listen again next week. We got some great guests lined up coming up on the show soon and some other great topics coming up. So stay tuned for more. Dean, just want to say thank you to you again for holding it down back in Orlando. I know me and G kind of hijacked the show, but I really appreciate you, participating and keeping us on the air on all the platforms and all the things. Anything you want to add before we wrap up, bro?
It was a good night. I will see you soon again next week.
All right, you got it, Dean. Well, hey, everyone, thanks again for checking out the Dare Me podcast. We'll see you next time. Be safe, peace, and talk to you soon. Good night.